Well, here we are, folks, for another Saturday night of entertainment, and we just try to keep people awake, so they end up being as tired as the rest of us come midnight or so. So we've got John Ishii is in hiding at this second here. We got Randall and Roy and Joey's going to be here for a little bit, so we want to. And John's only going to be here for a short time as well. Chuck won't be here tonight, and Gustavo is. We'll talk about him in a minute, but he won't be here tonight. Obviously, David may be in the chat, but he won't be on the panel tonight. Mozman's going to pop on in a little while at some point. But in the meantime, we got Roy here, of course, who's our rock. He's always here, making sure that the ship doesn't sink too far under the water.
I just can't get rid of me.
Well, I don't want to get rid of you. I don't want to get rid of any of you guys. So, well, let's see what we got. We only got 11 people in here, so we'll wait a minute or two and see if the numbers go up. And just say hi to those that are here. We got Bob Our Photos in the house. We've got Terry. Terry is here. Robert Varner's here. What hair? I'm talking about my eyebrows. I think when I say I'm combing my hair, it's got to be my eyebrows or the hair growing out of my ears, one or the other. Albert's here. Robert is here as well, and we'll have a few minutes here. We'll get up to 20 people, and John's going on a little photo adventure in a little while, and I'm going to let him talk about that once we hit about 20 people. So a few more people in here, and then I want to make sure that we let Joey say hi to everybody and let us know what he's up to, because he's going to be leaving shortly as well. So Mookie's here, Patrick Garrett's here. Hello to everybody. Why don't we get going? John, why don't you talk a little bit about what you're going to be doing later on at your time? It's daylight for you, right?
Yeah, it's a workshop done by my friend Adam, who's he's a commercial photographer, and he studied at the Brooks Institute of Photography in California years ago. So he's giving a workshop on Hollywood lighting. Now, Hollywood glamour lighting or Hollywood lighting is like what you saw in the old days, movie stars, Ava Gardner, Cary Grant, Marilyn Monroe, people like that, where they had headshots done and they're Hollywood. And the lighting is very, very classic. And in those days, they use HDMI lights or, hot lights, because obviously they didn't have LEDs back then. So it gives a really nice classic look. It's something I always wanted to do, because if you go to Google Images and look at the images of Hollywood glamour shots from the 60s, 50s, and 60s, they're great. And some of you old timers might know a TV show called Love That Bob with Bob Cummings, in which he was a Hollywood Playboy photographer. And his studio is this, gigantic 4x5 and 8x10 cameras, and it's like, hold it, kaboom, that type of thing. You're blind for a couple of days. So we're going to learn how to do that. So
is this going to be typically he shoots black and white then?
Oh, yeah. It'll probably be more black and white. And there's only going to be 3 of us, and myself, Diana, and another guy. So what I'm just going to use my Z8 and a 24-120, and that'll call it a day, because you don't need anything fancy. 24-120 is perfect, and you're going to shoot at least f8 or more. So obviously you don't need a fast lens.
Just
Other
lots.
than
Now,
that,
so this is going to be in a professional studio setting.
yeah, of course,
Yeah.
it'll be done at his studio, and
That'll be neat.
yeah,
That'll
and
be really
maybe
cool.
next week I'll pass on, I mean, if you like that kind of pictures, real Hollywood classic
Well,
shots.
those are like those were like some of the images that you would see in Life magazine,
Yeah,
right? Life
yeah,
magazine would
exactly.
always have a lot of Hollywood, Hollywood types on their covers, you know, as well.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
that would be I'd be cool. Yeah, I'd like to hear more about it next week if you got time after you've
Yeah,
gone
sure,
through it.
sure. Now I'll I'll hand over some pictures to you, so at least you can check it out. I have no idea how good I am. I, I have no
Well,
idea how to do this. So,
you know your way around. You know your way around the gear. You're gonna be fine.
well, the gear is fine. It's the lighting.
Yeah.
That's the thing. You see, and doing lighting is you have to be an artist to be able to master lighting. And these days with AI, where you just press a button and all those presets that you can buy, Skittles and stuff, it, to me is, doesn't cut it. Press a button and boom. You don't like it, press another button, boom. Now this is you got to get it right the first time in camera. So these are skills that I want to learn, which is starting to go away.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, the thing is, as we do get older, then we start to forget things too.
Yeah.
A little bit
Now
at a
last
time, we forget something or forget to, you take a picture and well, just the other day, right? I was taking a picture of a static subject, so I knocked down my shutter speed. So because I wanted to keep my ISO lower, so I knocked down my shutter speed and I took the static image. And then, normally, I'm always looking for birds in flight and stuff like that. And wouldn't you know it, for the first time in my lifetime, because I don't live where these birds are around often, like 4 or 5 avocets fly by in a group, and I go to take a picture of them, and I hadn't bumped up my shutter speed, and all the shots were crap. I had to just delete them all. So I mean, I hit myself in the head. I'm like, well, at least I saw them with my eyeballs, which was neat because they're really cool looking birds. But I blew the shot because I didn't, irregardless of the ISO, I normally, if I start looking in the sky, I automatically crank up my shutter speed, and I didn't do it this time, and I got, half a dozen crappy pictures, and was mad at myself. So once again, just because you do it fairly often doesn't mean you don't screw up.
you know, I was last night I was watching 60 Minutes, and there was on the great photographers, and one was a guy who's a Nat Geo photographer who shoots at zoos, exotic animals at zoos. And this guy is really amazing because he says if you go to the zoo, they have some exotic animals that you can shoot, and then he takes, of course, he's hooked up with the zoos, and they take the handlers that take the animals and put them in a studio environment, and he takes studio portrait shots of exotic birds and animals. Pretty amazing. You should check it out with Anderson Cooper, the great photographers.
Yeah, and then you'd have people that you just said took pictures at a zoo, and how many people probably in the chat or elsewhere out there probably went, "Oh, gee, that's horrible." And it's like, no, it's not. I mean,
No, it's not.
not everybody can afford a $12,000 trip to go to some far off destination, and I think I've seen some of what you're talking about. I remember seeing some articles about people that are taking pictures,
What's
like you
his
said, of the
name?
exotic animals
Well,
at the zoos, and they're
well, he
wonderful
puts them in
shots.
a studio.
Yeah.
You take a badger or something and you put him in a cage and put a black backdrop and you put probe photo lights, it's not easy.
Yeah.
And he's a Nat Geo photographer. I tell you, this guy's like, wow. And he says the reason why they take the pictures at a zoo, he says some of these animals are almost extinct. It was where do I have the time to go see them in their natural environment? It's almost impossible.
Yeah, you'd probably your odds of finding one would probably be slim to none, as they say.
Exactly. So then, if the zoo has it and is willing to work with Nat Geo and to be able to do portrait shots of certain animals, it's it's beautiful. So take a look at that.
Yeah, I might have seen it because I get emails from National Geographic,
Oh
like
yeah,
sending you little snippets of content so that you can sign up and join, uh, for their online magazine or whatever. So
I can't
yeah, I
remember
think
its
I've
name.
seen that before. I'm darn sure I have, and it was
Yeah,
very impressive. You didn't get the feeling that the person wasn't, and lots of times too, they're really it's more about the animal. I mean, it isn't so much like an environmental shot. They're trying to capture the essence of the
yeah,
animal.
yeah. Right,
So
right.
the
So they use
animal
a
is predominant in the image.
yeah, it's a portrait shot.
It's a
That's why they have a
portrait shot.
black,
Yeah.
white. Yeah, I can't remember
Because
the fellow's
I
name.
think I saw some that someone did. There was orangutans and stuff like that, and they were wonderful images.
Yeah, right. I think that's the guy.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, he's using a D850. Now, last week I was in Thailand to shoot that vegetarian festival. Have you seen my pictures?
No, no.
Oh, I'll send them to you. It's on my Facebook. I mean, that thing was wild. It felt like I was in Gaza.
Oh, you were now you had all your stuff wrapped in plastic bags or what?
Well, no, I used gaffer tape and taped it all up. Then I had to wear respirators and just in tactical outfit because they take, a whole reel of 100 firecrackers and they throw it at you.
Oh, jeez.
I mean, they and then the air is so thick in gunpowder that you start to choke. So you have to wear, the gas mask. And Diana, man, she goes right in. And she's getting blown away.
She's in there with her medium format camera, right?
Exactly. And I'm going, yeah.
And
I'll send you those
I'll say
pictures.
hello to Tim, who is in the purple room.
Hey, Tim.
I'm not
Hey
going to
guys, how
ask
are ya?
why your room is purple. I don't want to know.
You should know by now. Well, it's this crazy thing that I have called lights.
Yeah.
Good to see you, Tim.
You too, John.
But
It's been a while.
But yeah, John's going to do a Hollywood type of lighting session tonight with someone that he knows that does that professionally, and he's going to share some of that information and hopefully some pictures for us next week.
Yeah, looking forward to
Oh,
seeing
that's
it.
his name. Joel Sartone.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's his name, Joel.
But yeah, since Joey, you're leaving very, very soon here, so why don't I zing you out into the front and center here and let you.
My.
And because you're so young looking, I want to capture some of your youth and steal it, which would be cool if I could actually do that. Why don't you give us a heads up on what you're doing with Panasonic and what's going on?
Yeah, sure. Not much to do about nothing. Just been getting caught up on doing some editing. I shot, God, it would have been at least 5 or 6 videos back in early September there, and life got busy, so just trying to get caught up on that. I put out 2 videos on Friday. One was this interview I did with this really interesting fella who's a guitar amp builder. He does boutique tube amps. So I did sort of an interview style with him and shot with the S9, S5 II, and the S1R. So I'll put that interview style video out with all the photos, and then I did also the BTS video as well. So if you guys are bored and want to see something new, it's up on the channel. And then coming up here, I've got a review that'll be coming out on the S1R, another review on the S9, and then also a review on the 50 mil 1.4 Panasonic lens and the new 28-200 super zoom from Panasonic as well. So lots of stuff in the hopper, lots of editing to do. But yeah, that's really about it. Just been doing that and learning how to use this VR headset for fun, which has been kind of cool. So yeah, staying busy.
You put that on, you got to make sure you have an open area, so when you're doing battles and swinging your arm around, you don't whack something in the house.
I'm just using it for NFL Sunday Ticket. Just get
So you'll end up breaking that vase from the Ming Dynasty that's worth millions or something, and then you'll be in a lot of trouble.
I'll end up crashing into the drum kit or something. But
yeah,
that's about it. That's all that is new with me. Just staying busy and editing, and got a conference I'm going to up in Banff this week. That's going to be cool. It's a big marketing conference. So going to be learning lots. We got some folks coming in from the NFL and some other different industries. So going to be definitely some good learning opportunities there, and learn about all the things I don't know. So that'll be good too. But that's about it for moi. And then I'm gonna head off here pretty quick to go on a double date, going out for some Japanese food, which will be nice.
Hey, go Dodgers!
Yeah, go Dodgers.
Yankees.
Oh boy,
Dodgers.
here we go.
let the battle begin. Did I don't follow any sports hardly at all anymore. I don't even know if the are the Mets out of it yet, because they were in the playoffs, weren't they?
No, the Mets were 5-up yesterday. Hey,
Really?
baseball's the greatest game in the world.
Huh.
I love baseball for some reason.
Baseball is one of those ones where it's like you sometimes see that one guy that's got a bod like you, and you're just like, there's hope. I can still do this. All the other sports, it's like everyone's like super athletic. Even golf, they've like the John Daly's are gone, and I'm like, oh, there's no hope for me. But
I met John Daly. I met that guy because I had to cover him during a PGA. That John Daly, let me tell you what, that guy goes up to do his swing, and he's got this cigarette hanging out of his mouth, right, kind of dangling, and then he looks up and the cigarette's still dangling. I don't know how he keeps it in his mouth, and he hits that ball, and it's like a 2-stage rocket, schlunk, and stage 2 schlunk, it's gone.
Wow.
I've never seen it.
I love
He's
that
still got that
schlunk
cigarette hanging out of his mouth.
It's like Andy Cap.
Yeah, Andy Cap. Yeah, Andy Cap comics.
Oh, man.
He always had a cigarette in his mouth. Yeah.
He's probably half drunk,
You're dating
Oh, yeah,
yourself,
for
Tim.
sure.
You're dating yourself, Tim, doing that,
That's all right. I still look kind of young. Sort of.
Well, it was funny. I went to the movies today with my wife and some friends. We usually go to the movies on Saturday, and usually though, you have the normal previews before the movie, but before that, you get basically a bunch of commercials. So you get the M&M's commercials and that kind of stuff. And for some reason today was like a bunch of, they usually have like a little Hollywood show where they talk about movies and people interview actors, and that's like a 10-minute thing, or whatever. And today there was none of that. It was just all ads for like, believe it or not, for men's skincare products and stuff like that. And every commercial was skincare products, and I'm like, really? Where's this coming from? We never had that before.
Well, it goes to show you how dated we are.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I get my feet done every now and then. I feel bad for the poor souls that have to scrape them with, belt sanders. But it's not Bad way to spend the Sunday. Anyways, guys, I got to run here. Gonna go get my Japanese food double date action on. But nice seeing y'all and everyone in the chat. I hope you all have a good week. And yeah, if you find yourself bored, you want to learn more about tube guitar amps, head over to my channel. She's only got 20 views so far. That video is a project of love and not
Okay.
the views.
Well, we'll go
Rock
there.
and
As
roll,
they say,
man.
you're talking amps. We're going to just say, sounds good. Ha
There we go. I love it. The tube technology.
Have a good time.
I got a whole
tonight.
collection of amps.
That's beautiful.
Have
Love
a
it.
good
All
one.
right. Thanks, guys. Have a good week.
See you later,
Bye.
Joe.
Yeah,
Take it
See you,
easy.
Joe.
You too. Bye.
Before we move on with anything, I want to just comment on something. I want to do a quick shout out to and a thank you to Verhagen for his sentiment and kind words regarding this channel and my future departure, which he worded in kind of like, oh, maybe he is, maybe he isn't, whatever. Very much appreciated. And I think he discussed this on his second episode. He had been taking a break for a couple months from YouTube, and I mentioned on the last show that he was coming back, and I think he's done at least four videos that I know of, maybe 5 by now. I don't know. So we wish you well with your future endeavors with the show, and thanks again for your kind comments. And he made a comment how difficult it is doing shows and doing live streams and stuff like that. And yeah, it's not an easy gig for anybody that chooses to get involved in the YouTube universe, whether you're just doing videos or, of course, the live streams are a whole different ball of wax, because if you screw up, everybody sees it. You can't edit it. You can't cut it and paste it or whatever. So, but I appreciate the kind words, and hope everything goes well at your end with your content. And that's that. We right now we have 12 images for our photo of the month, and I will put up our normal little statement here. That's going to be on November 2nd, the photo review on November 2nd, and send the images no later than noon the day before on November 1st. And don't get too hung up on the file size. I know I keep that up there, but I don't mind if it's if you want to have something that's a little more detailed or whatever, or needs it, you can send me a bigger file, and I'm not going to cry about it, and I'm not going to send you any nasty letters in the mail or anything like that. So you'll be fine. I have the results from the voting on the top 3 images, and I am going to share those. Let me find them on my desktop here, and so I can share the top 3 images. And I've already put together the November calendar in both PDF file format and JPEG. So basically, all you have to do, I'm going to show you the images, and you can just send me an email requesting the files, and then we will, send them to you. I'll send you the JPEG and the PDF file together as a set. So here we go. Let me share them on the screen. So just so you know, before I put it up here, we had two people who were tied, and I did my wheel of misfortune. I spun the wheel, but I decided that for whatever was going to be the first image that was going to be in the calendar, that I would spin the wheel 5 times, and it would be best of 5. So it was a toss up between image number 47, which I'm going to show you now, which is the winner by vote and by the spin of the wheel. And that's going to be
one I like. Yeah.
That's going to be Ava's hummingbird shot. And it was funny because obviously she made a comment at Gustavo, that she got a lot of good information from, presentations that he did on how to take pictures of hummingbirds and whatnot. And so she put got her camera out and put her skills to the test and got a fantastic image and absolutely nothing to complain about. And the runner-up, of course, would be the person who I had to spin the wheel against her, and I will share that image here in a second.
Yeah, Eva's in England right now visiting her mom, right?
I'm not sure.
Who?
Eva. And let me find the next image. So the image that the wheel spin was against here was Terry's image from Iceland.
Oh, I've been there.
So it was
that same
so
location.
it was number 11. So this was Terry's image. So this ended up being number 2, and then the third one, there were about at least six images that all had the same amount of votes on them. So I had to spin. I just set out these. I'm just going to spin the wheel once because there's 6 images, and I will share what the third image is. And once again, give me a second to get out of that one and find the other. Change my window, and this image was the one from Michael Dries that Michael took, which was also a wonderful image. So the problem obviously is that we have too many darn good pictures that come in from everybody, and to try to narrow it down, and if we're going to continue to do this, hopefully we get a little more participation in the voting process than we got the last time. But I'll discuss that more with the panelists offline and see if we're going to continue it or not. And I will share you the calendar image. What the calendar looks like. It's nothing that's going to win any awards other than the picture itself. But the calendar image is just a calendar image. It's nothing. Give me a second here. I got to clean off all the stuff on my desktop here. Oops. What happened?
I got a question while you do that.
Yeah.
Is there a theme for next month? I remember last year was Halloween.
Well, I made a comment that if people are fortunate enough to get any interesting Halloween images, to feel free to share them. I mean, I didn't like making an assignment per se, but I think it would be kind of cool if you're able to do that. But that's I'm not going to pin it down where it has to be Halloween themed, but feel free to do so. So here's the calendar.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
And I put the person's name on the image so everybody knows who did it. And like I said, if you want to have this, and like I said, you'll get a JPEG, and which you could use if you have a printer and you want to print it out. If you want to use it as you'll have a PDF file to use that if you're using it for maybe a background image on your desktop or whatever you want to do. But just send me an email, say, hey, send me the calendar. I'll attach the 2 files for you and send it back to you. So feel free to contact me anytime, and I will be more than happy to send you the files. But it was fun. It was fun, and we'll see how it goes if we end up doing it next month or not. And I know probably for some people, you know, we always said that, and I sincerely meant this. I mean, we just did it for fun. I mean, you know, no one's winning a free trip on a free Carnival cruise or anything like that, and we don't want to. Never wanted it to be extremely competitive. It's more just sharing our work, and maybe for some people, you know, they really don't want to do this because you don't want it to be competitive. And I just looked at it as a way of engagement, and people could have a calendar image that they can, you know, have on their desk or whatever. And but if people don't want to do it anymore, you know, just send me an email and let me know what your opinion is. But Ava did a wonderful image, as well as everybody else has submitted images. And yeah, it's a real, you know what, to try to, for all of us who voted, to try to pick 3 images. Is like, okay, why don't you just ask me, you know, to build a rocket ship and go to Mars? You know, I mean, it's not easy to do.
Does it have to be wildlife?
No, it could be anything. Could be anything. I mean, I don't want. I mean, I know for some it may appear this is a wildlife channel. Of course, we got, you know, we just happen to have a lot of people that come on and shoot wildlife. But I would love to see wedding images. I would love to see portraiture. I would love to see some more macro shots. I mean, we get some, you know, some interesting shots of spiders and things like that from Jeff and Leslie, and snakes and stuff like that. And you know, I'd like to see some more street photography. I was supposed to go out and do some street photography this week. It just unfortunately didn't happen. I just didn't have enough time to go out. But you know, I took some shots at the beach last week. Last weekend, I think I took my wife to the beach and took some images on the beach. One that I kind of like of a person on the beach, and that reminded me of the type of picture that you would see in a magazine from like 1960 or something. You know, I kind of like it, and I'll share that image for next month's photo review. So I'll have an image in my repertoire, as they say, that won't be a bird next month. It'll actually have a person in it. So try not to faint that it's not a bird. But I do take things other than birds. I like doing macro and flowers, but I encourage people to cityscapes, you know, send cityscape shots, and especially like we get shots like that sometimes from David, and definitely Joey does a lot of the, you know, the drone shots that are really cool and stuff like that. But yeah, just send anything. I mean, let's just say the only images that I don't have to, I never get anything I have to screen, but obviously, you know, it is a family show, so I don't want any images that are not appropriate for children of all ages. Let's put it that way. So you got to be careful that way, but just
That counts me out.
Send whatever you got, and send old images in too, because there's nothing wrong. You know, scan an old picture that you took 20 years ago that means something to you, and send it in. It does not have to be current work. It doesn't have to be something that you shot in the last 7 days. It could be whatever it's just what you want to share that means something to you. That's something that you liked. So go to town, send us some stuff. And you gotta twist Diana's arm to send some medium format shots with the new Fuji.
Okay. Hey, I just sent you a picture. I just emailed you a picture of her.
Okay.
Show the guys.
Okay, I'm gonna move that to my desktop so I could share that with everybody, and then I'll let you talk about it. If I can stop laughing long enough to. Okay. Let's find it here. And then first I'm gonna drag you over, John, because I'm gonna let you talk about it here. So wait a minute. I'm gonna drag you over, and I'm gonna bring up the image. and I will. Let's see if I can make it. See if I can make it bigger.
That photo looks like something from The Purge.
Yeah.
Well, she's having a blast, literally a blast.
Yeah, that doesn't look like it's the safest place to be by any means. You know,
No.
I'd be freaking out that my gear would get all filled with crud and stuff.
Well, that's why you tape it up, because you can't blow off that dust from the firecrackers. It's kind of sticky.
Yeah.
So it sticks on. But once you wrap the whole camera in this gaffer tape, I mean the lens and the whole thing, and cover all the buttons, and then when you take it off, it just looks like new. So there's no problem. But yeah, this is what you got to wear. Otherwise, you can't breathe. Mm-hmm. And you can see all that smoke is just thick with firecrackers, and very, very explosives, and they're throwing it at you. So that's why you have to be all decked out. Otherwise, last year I had one in between right there, and it blew up on my stomach.
Oh wow! Yeah.
And it's pretty painful, but it's pretty exciting. This is her new.
You think if you use like one of those cheap rain sleeves or something on the camera that would work too?
No, it won't work, because then you can't see. You can't see the viewfinder. It won't work. It just won't work. So the best is the gaffer tape.
Black painter's tape works well too. No residue.
Yeah. What's that?
Black painter's tape works really well.
Maybe I can get Diana over here to say something about it. Hang on. Hey, Diana?
Yeah, you should take a picture of the camera with the tape on it.
This looks like something literally that you would see like on the cover of Time magazine or Life.
Yeah,
it really does. I mean, this is obviously definitely John's forte here, like a photojournalist type of image,
Did he say that he took it with the Z6 III?
Yeah, here she is.
John, what did you take this image with? What camera?
I think that's John in the photo. John, isn't that you in the photo?
No, I'm the one that's taking the picture.
No, that's Diana in the photo with the thumb up.
That's Diana.
I can't see them.
Oh, okay. I need to enlarge it.
Hey, we can't see you. Can you see us?
Just see the picture.
I can't because the picture's taking over my screen.
Oh, okay. Anyway, you can hear Diana, right?
Hi.
Yeah, I can hear her, and I can see her in my sidebar on my screen. So, hi, Diana.
Okay.
You really shouldn't dress up. You shouldn't dress up so fancy when you go out at night.
This is my new outfit.
Yeah.
So I have to protect myself because the fireworks are just absolutely crazy.
Now, how many hours does this celebration last for?
Actually, it lasts for days. And actually, the whole celebration lasts for 10 days.
Oh,
and
wow.
But the action is mostly on the last night.
Okay.
Because they have to burn all the firecrackers, which they have reserved. So, the last night is absolutely madness.
Would you explain?
I was just saying, I don't know if John heard me when he went to get you. I said, this is really his forte, like a photojournalist type of shot that you'd have on Time magazine or the old Life magazine or whatever. I mean, it would be fitting to be on in a magazine publication, to be honest with you.
Oh, thanks. Thanks.
Well,
Really
when
cool.
John took this picture, I was actually photographing those guys behind me, and with carrying the sedan chairs with the gods, the statue of gods, there. And so I turned around and saw John, and I said, "Hey, take a shot of me. This is crazy."
No, that's
So,
that's cool.
to answer Robert Daniels' question, what camera and lens combo? I used the Z6 III, and this one I used that night was my 24-120.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
it's a great shot. I mean, I pleaded with John to coerce you into sharing some medium format shots from your new Fuji that you're having fun with.
Oh,
When you get
sure.
a chance, or
Yeah.
send them in for next month's photo review,
Sure.
which would be great. And how have you liked using that camera? Let's let you talk a little bit about your experience with that camera. Are you having a great time?
The Fuji, I used the Fuji GFX 102S.
Yeah.
So I was struggling with it. It was very difficult because last year I used my Hasselblad, H2D, and that was actually quite difficult because of the focusing issue. Because when you have smoke and all this, the contrast focusing is not that fast. So
Yeah.
it hunts, the camera hunts. But when I use the GFX this time, the focusing is faster. But I cannot put on the face detection mode because it will not detect. Because there's too much smoke, and then the people are coming towards you, and it's a very fast session. The camera was just like hunting. So I put it on. It took me the first 2 days. I could not get the pictures I want, because it's either back focus or out of focus.
Yeah.
And so what I did is that, I changed the focus mode into a large area. Instead of using a small area, I use a large area focusing. And that actually helps, to get the pictures, sharp. For all these characters, the action going on, and the smoke, and then the fireworks, and we explode. So that helps a lot. And so that was one experience I learned about the GFX, is that, the focusing mode is very important in order to get, because it's contrast focusing, and it's a medium format. So it's
Yeah.
not as fast. So you
Yeah.
cannot just
Yeah.
fire away,
Yeah.
because the card would not read that fast. And the card, when it has a lag between you press the button, and then, it's reading and recording in the card. So you cannot simply just like stick the camera out and shoot. And you really have to look for the shot that you want, and then you start shooting.
Now, have you
And
had a
hope
chance
for the
to
best.
use it? Have you used it for any of those wonderful cityscapes that you like to take?
Yeah, I mean, I use it for cityscape, lightscape. I even use it for lightning shots, the one that I captured.
Yeah.
Lightning, it works really well. And I like the film simulation because this time I also use the classic Chrome, film simulation in the camera, and then increase the contrast a little bit. And the picture looks really nice. I like it, it's less dramatic, but it has a different feel for the picture. So I like those pictures too, especially with the smoke, the white color and all that. Wow, it's just beautiful.
I'm glad. Well, I'm glad you guys had a good time, but more importantly, I'm glad you both made it home alive and safe. And you have all your fingers, right? You didn't lose any fingers from the fire
Oh,
practice.
he fell down.
Uh-oh.
He was locked down by another person.
Oh, wow.
He backed into me.
Yeah,
I mean, it's just going so fast.
it's so fast.
But anybody hesitating on
Oh yeah.
Z6 III, don't, because that camera is, what can I say?
Next time I bring a Nikon. That's for sure.
You heard it. You heard it live.
Yeah.
I'll bring a C8, C9, you know, because I see the shots that John's getting because I'm missing some. I mean, I saw it in my eyes, but I'm not capturing it. The camera is not made for this kind of shots. I think that, you know, the Nikon is much better.
Well, you were stretching the limit. You were stretching the limits of kind of like what it's kind of like designed around. I think a little bit.
Well, yeah. You know, like I told her, I said, you don't bring a knife to a gunfight, you know. I mean, really, especially in this type of environment and stuff, you know, get something that works. It's going to nail it. Right. But it's, you know, that it's a real challenge.
Well, I'm glad you're having fun with it. And John, now you got the small, you got this Fuji, what is it? The one, the version 6 of the, what is it? The X100V, X106.
Oh, no, that's Diana. Diana got
okay. Diana's using that.
No.
Does that, now, I know they have it on some of their cameras. Does that camera have is that one of the ones that they came out with that has the film simulation dial on the top and you on the left hand side of the camera when you're holding it? Does it have the film simulations?
No.
Okay,
No,
that's one of their other models then that they
yeah,
did
it's in the
too.
menu.
Yeah.
Okay, it's in the menu though. Okay.
Yeah.
So
All right, guys.
do they have like a quick menu or something like you can customize your own menu?
Yeah, they have a button on the camera which you can press, and then you can change the, you know, the film simulation very quickly there.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you can cook your own recipes too.
Yeah, which is fun. Maybe I share some pictures of where I used that camera and took pictures of an old American diner in Malaysia. You know, next time, which I changed the recipe in the film simulation. And it's actually quite fun. The color comes out quite interesting.
Yeah, that would be neat. I mean, add that into your repertoire for a photo review.
Yeah, OANW.
Right.
We froze for a second here, but you're back. Yeah, so I'm glad you guys had a good time, and you're more daring than I would be. I'd be so nervous about my camera getting messed up.
Oh, you know what? You know, like I ordered something from Amazon, and it was so well. It's a gaffer tape that I ordered from Amazon, and I taped the camera. You know, including the lens, and was beautiful. And then when I get back to the hotel, I just peel off the tape, and then the cameras just have no scratch. Really good.
Did you ever take a picture of the finished product with the gaffer tape on it? All right.
Yeah.
Send that. I like to see it.
Send that. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, sure. I show it to next time or next week or next time. I show you the camera before, and then with the tape, and after the shoot.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And then you see, well, when I took off the tape, it was like amazing. I mean, this is like $23, you know, from Amazon. It's a big, you know, tape that you can actually buy. It was really good.
Oh wow. Okay.
So you wrapped it up like the Mummy. That would be like a Halloween shot for
it looked like a mummy.
The camera had a Halloween costume on.
Yeah, it was really well. So I think if you take the camera to any outdoor rough environment, it's very good. Yeah.
All right, guys, we got to get going. Got to get to this portrait shoot.
Another shoot.
Right. Hey, have fun. Have fun.
All right, see you next week.
At least you don't have to worry about fire. At least you don't have to worry about firecrackers tonight.
Yeah. All right. Good to see you guys. Okay, Roy, Tim, Randall.
Take
no
care.
More cameras, Randall.
When are you going to go to the vegetable where they throw the tomatoes and stuff? Are you going to go to that one?
Oh, that's in Spain, is it?
That's
no, I think
Spain.
I'll pass on that. I don't want spaghetti sauce on me.
All right.
Randall, no more cameras, all right? Save your money. Save your money for old age.
For old age. Have
All
a
right,
good
guys.
one. Take it easy.
Take care, John.
So I just want to go and because obviously when we're having this conversation, I'm not really looking in the chat, and I know sometimes people get PO'd at me because I didn't notice things in the chat. And as we say, please use QQQ in front of your statement if you have a question, and hopefully we're smart enough and paying enough of attention where we will notice that you sent in a question. So I know there was some Robert's asking if anybody's watched the Camera Conspiracy channel. I myself have not.
I watched a recent video he did with. It looks like he's been shooting Nikon a lot lately, and he did one with the 35 and the 50 1.4 versus the 1.8s, and he had some good things to say about the 1.4s.
Let's see.
Yeah, I think he also did the 180 to 600, 6.3, and adapted Canon EF adapter with I guess, the lens for the Nikon, and then of course the 40 2.8. Now Nikon had a 42, right, 40 millimeter 2, but they also Viltrox came out with a 42.5. So I think he was talking about the Viltrox one at 2.5, unless he shot it at 2.8.
Yeah. Robert's also asking about any news on rumored Red Z cameras. Really nothing other than and I think it was another comment here, and maybe it was from Robert as well. I'm not sure. I know it's farther down the list where I'm looking. There was a comment: has anybody used the Red Lutz yet? And the Red Lutz, which was a firmware upgrade, which you had to basically put those features either in your software that you use if it accepts it, or you had to put it on your monitor that you would attach, your Atmos monitor that you would put on your camera. You couldn't download it, and have it available inside the camera itself. So I myself have not used any of those LUTs. I don't really, none of the videos personally that I take for YouTube content, I'm not going to get into using LUTs. I'm just fine, just making some normal adjustments with highlights and shadows and stuff, just using the color wheel in Final Cut Pro, and that's good enough for what I do. But I mean, obviously, people that have the more higher end video editing software tend to get into the LUTs more. I know, Wayne Maddox uses the LUTs, and next time if he comes on the show, I haven't seen him in a long time. If he comes back on the show, maybe I can convince him to put together a little presentation on the use of LUTs with video editing, and share that with people and talk about, what software he uses and things like that, because there is an interest by some in that type of stuff. But I think I can only speak for myself. I personally don't dive into it that deep, and I don't shoot 8K video either. I shoot either 4K 120, or I shoot 4K 30 or 4K 24. I don't really. I'm not going to do 8K. I mean, there's no sense in me shooting 8K if you're sharing it on YouTube. No one's going to be able to watch it in 8K. So what's the point? It's just and no one's even watching it in 4K. So there's no sense in adding file size and storage that you got to deal with a bigger file and takes longer to do it, and it doesn't benefit me to go that route. So I just stick with the 4K 120 so I can put stuff in slow motion. And if I know I'm not going to be putting it in slow motion, I'll shoot 4K 30 or 4K 24. But I haven't heard anything about any rumored, per se, Red Z cameras. And I think the general consensus was, whether it's accurate or not, from the time of the acquisition to the time that you're going to see any significant, and I'm talking hardware, not firmware type stuff, that obviously anything that Nikon can extract from Red in terms of file compression or whatever, they may be able to do with a firmware update. And that's the type of stuff you might see first on your cameras. But in terms of actually having hardware features from a Red camera on a Z camera, I think you got to look at 3 to 4 years from the time they got bought out and got merged with Nikon. I mean, it's nothing that's going to be super fast, but you never know. And I guess I'm just hoping that, and I'm being selfish here because, I mean, I'm not someone that's going to spring 15 grand or 20 grand for a Nikon cinema camera or a Red cinema camera and a lens or something like that. I just don't have a use case for it. But it'll be interesting to see what they do. And I'm just hoping that Nikon doesn't. They still have lens gaps at the wide end of the spectrum and at the specialty end of lenses for the Z mount. And I'm just hoping that if they're going to develop, which we hear they've already talked about, cinema lenses. If they develop cinema lenses, I hope it's like another production line in the factory, where you have a group of people doing cinema lenses and you still have another group of people doing glass for the Z mount, so that people aren't waiting longer for some of these specialty lenses in the Z mount any longer than they have to. But we'll see what comes of it. What else do we have here? And Robert was saying is debating about the ZF or the Z6 III. The ZF, I have that, and I know Tim's got the ZFC, and they're really great for everyday street photography, everyday photography, family photos, stuff like that. And I like the retro styling. I like the old the dials. If you want to, if you don't want to use the dials, you just set up the camera where you're using the front and rear wheel, and you can control your f-stop and your shutter speed just like you would on a Z6 III or a Z8 or a Z9. It's all on how you configure it, or you can do it the old-fashioned way. And okay, you're looking through the viewfinder and you're trying to find the shutter speed dial and turn that without taking your eye off the viewfinder, and you get used to it. You can turn the switches and the knobs and everything and get what you want, and it's just slow. You're just slowing yourself down, but you're not taking pictures where you need to do anything fast. Okay, that's what I'm using that camera for. I'm not using for anything. I'm not going to use it for serious action or anything. Although I did try it for bird and flight. It worked fine. Autofocus was pretty darn good. But that's not what I'm going to use it for. I'm using it for street photography, or sometimes I'll put a macro lens on it and I'll use it for doing macro shots. That's just me. A Z6 III would be more something that facilitates doing more action type shots than a ZF would, my opinion. But let's see what else we got here in questions. Jonathan's got a comment in here. QQQ. Anyone have issues with Nikon's 26mm pancake lens This lens suddenly makes a terrible sound when focusing and focuses very slowly. It's loud and unusable for video. I would, well, if you have, if it's not out of warranty, I would definitely send it back to Nikon. It should not be loud. It's going to be, should not be real loud. I mean, I don't know. I don't have that particular lens. I don't know. Tim, you got the, you don't have the 26, right? You have.
No, but I do have a lens
lens.
Pardon?
I was going to say, I have a lens on this camera right here that the focus motor's bad on. I was going to see if it sounded the same, but I don't think it's loud enough to pick up from the mic. But if it sounds kind of like a screeching noise, it's, I mean, chances are it's the focus motors anyway. But
yeah, I had my motors fail on my 500 PF when I had it because I used it so much, and I had to send it in and get the motors replaced. Autofocus motors replaced, and yeah, it was making a lot of noise when it was at the. I got it fixed before it physically just stopped working, but it was extremely annoying before I sent it back to get repaired. But you know, if it's still under warranty, definitely send it in. I mean, it's probably not. Due to its price point, I don't know that I would send it in for repair versus just replacing it if it's out of warranty, to be honest with you. But if it's in warranty, yeah, send it back in.
Compared to old lenses, it shouldn't be too noisy at all.
Yeah.
For a Z lens, it's a little noisier than most, but it shouldn't be
Randall's saying, Randall, yours does the same thing? You got the 26?
Yeah, I got it right here. So I'm turning this on. Okay, this is the Viltrox. All right, I'm doing the autofocus. You don't hear it at all. Now I'm going to put on the 26 millimeter, and you'll hear it. So it is a noisy lens, and I commented about that a couple times in my videos. But like you said, if it's a high screeching noise, there's something wrong with it. But you'll hear the autofocus all the time. Okay, when it autofocuses. So. Let's see. How can I do this? I can show you the screen at least. Okay. And what I'm also going to do is put in aperture priority. Yeah, it's at 2.8. It's good. Now, I'm focusing it. Let's see. All right, now. You hear it? See, I don't hear it. Okay, so you can feel it focusing. All right?
Yeah, you can feel it.
You can hear it, but it's not a high screech. So if you are getting a high screech, then
it's dying.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can tell the difference. Also, if it slows down, it's the focus motors.
Yeah.
But I have no trouble with focusing. But it does focus breathe a lot, though. But look how small it is. It's just tiny.
Looks like it just looks like you have the body cap on the body instead of a lens, right? It's
and
short.
And this is the body cap, so it just goes on just like that. But yeah, I like that. All right.
So let's see what else we got here. I mean, I do have stuff to talk about, but I want to make a point of making sure we check the chat here.
It also has a crazy lens hood on here, real tiny. And then you just screw it on, tighten it a little bit.
I'll tell you. I'll tell you guys a funny story. And you guys know I buy vintage gear, right? So I'm always. I get into the Jeff Neville. Oh, let's go and look at stuff mode. Gas of a different vintage gas. Okay, you have gas. You guys have gas. Sometimes I have vintage gas.
You need a hobby, man.
But this was the funniest thing. I'm looking at I look at all sorts of cameras. I mean, I look at cameras from the 1800s. I look at cameras from the early 1900s. I look at Canons. I look at food. I look at them all. So anyway, I forget what camera this was, but it just amazes me about what people think that someone will buy some of this stuff that they put on eBay or whatever. In this particular case, I was on eBay, and I don't even know why you'd have the gumption to put it on there and think you're going to get 5 cents for it. So a person takes a picture looking through the viewfinder on the back of the camera, and there's a dead bug in it on the inside. You see like the fly. It's like the horror movie. There's the fly sitting inside the camera on the other side of the viewfinder. I'm like, and seriously, you think somebody's gonna buy that thing? Oh my God, that was so funny. I couldn't stop laughing. But yeah, it is truly amazing what people price things at and what they and how they personally grade it, you know, and even with some of the Japanese stuff, which usually is pretty good, but I was looking at a particular brand of old medium format camera, and I finally, after looking at literally, 100 of them or something, I just says, I'm not buying that. There was not, and a lot of these said mint, like new, mint plus, all this stuff. And almost every single camera, you either had a lens that had separation, or you had a lens that had, a ton of fungus on it. And how could you call a camera mint condition if the lenses are all crudted up? And it was like one after another. And when you're looking at anything on eBay, for example, and you got to scroll to the bottom of the sheet where the person hopefully writes a detailed story about the camera, and they'll say, working order, exposure meter works, this works, that works, and then they get into the lens and they'll say, okay, that there's no dings, there's no small dust, but no large dusts, but then they're being honest. But if you don't scroll down and look for it, you may not see it, and they'll say, oh yeah, there's some haze on the middle element, or there's some fungus on the front element or the back element or whatever, and I don't know if where some of these places are, if they're near the ocean and they have high humidity and these cameras are just getting a lot of humidity, they're not being stored right or whatever. But like one camera, they had the camera back opened up and the pressure plate, and I didn't even have to look at the lens. I knew the lens was going to have fungus on it because they had it opened up and the pressure plate had fungus on it. So you're taking a picture of a camera that you're trying to sell and the pressure plate has fungus on it. And of course, when you look at the lens was just all full of fungus. It's like, I don't get it, boy. I tell you, you got to be really super, super, super careful buying any of this stuff because they'll call it mint. I wrote to one guy and he says exposure meter works, and he had a little video and he shined a flashlight on the CDS cell or whatever, and then the needle moved. So I wrote and I said, well, all you showed was that the needle moves. How accurate is it? And the guy writes back to me. He says, I have no way of telling how accurate it is. Come on, I could tell how accurate it is. I don't have. Just set the exposure to where it's telling you that you got a proper exposure, and take the write down what the settings are, and then take a modern camera and do the same thing and see how far off it is. Obviously a modern camera is going to have a better exposure system than an old camera, but if you're within a stop, I wouldn't worry about it. The exposure latitude of the film or whatever, a stop, and you got to scan it the image is going to get scanned it's film, and then you can edit it in Lightroom or whatever you use, and darken it or lighten it or whatever you have to do. So I wouldn't be hung up if an exposure meter was off by a stop or a stop and a half. But don't say that you have no way of figuring it out. I mean, that's ridiculous. Yeah, you could figure it out pretty easy, but obviously, a person didn't want to sell it, didn't want to take the extra effort to maybe get you to buy the camera. So you got to be really, really careful buying this old stuff. I'll tell you, it's dangerous out there. Just warning you, it's dangerous out there.
Careful out there.
What else we got here? I'll just share one negative thing on that lens I talked about that I bought, the no nickel or knocked lens there from Artra Labs. I still haven't gotten out to do any serious photos with it, but the one thing, and I think I talked to Tim one night, we were BSing, and I said, I found something I had to write down. They gave me the 2 lens filters for it, and the problem is that if you put the lens filter on, you can't put the hood on.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
The filter is a little bit larger in diameter than the end of the lens, and then the lens hood won't go over it. So that kind of sucks because, excuse my language, because if you were taking pictures, let's say on the beach, and you want to have a UV filter on your lens so you don't get any salt spray on it, and you want to have the hood on there so that you can reduce any flaring depending on what you're shooting at, you can't do it. You're just going to have to put the filter on and leave the hood off, or you're going to have to buy a rubber hood or something to put on it, that you can expand.
Or a metal one.
Yeah, do something like that. But so that's a negative. So if I ever get in contact with them, or probably once I get done actually taking a lot of pictures with it and stuff and sharing the images, I'll probably write them a letter and just tell them what I found with the lens and see if I get a response.
Maybe other filters would fit though.
Well, they also have other lens hoods that you can buy too that'll fit over that. They had the same problem with the new Q43, where they had a new lens hood, but it wouldn't fit. But if you got the original Q3 lens hood, then it would fit. So it's something that they didn't even think about. It's like these firmware updates. They don't test them properly, and then it bricks cameras. It was Sony, Panasonic S9 was having some trouble.
Well, Fuji with autofocus on Fuji cameras, certain Fuji cameras. Well, I think what they got to do though is they got to make it. These camera manufacturers at a minimum should make it so it's easy if you run into a problem where you can go to their website or have a way of just uninstalling that version that you just put on and using the previous one. If the previous one worked pretty good and the new one has a problem, they need to make it so you can go and put the old one back on again.
Canon won't let you do that.
A lot of them won't let you do that.
Yeah.
And I think that's a mistake because when they make a mistake, in theory, you could have an unusable camera until they get around to fixing the firmware again. That's not exactly fair to you as a customer.
Well, I was hearing some horror stories on YouTube where their Sony cameras were bricked, and since it wasn't under warranty, they had to pay a full price. But he says, well, the thing is, I was using your firmware update, and it bricked my camera. So they came up to a deal where he would just pay for the warranty and just pay for the labor or whatever. But it was their firmware that bricked his camera. So he
Yeah, I remember that article, and even then the guy got screwed. Shouldn't have cost him
Yeah.
5 cents. Should not have cost him 5 cents. I'm sorry. You got multi-million-dollar corporations screwing the little guy. You know, I mean, I'm sorry. I don't go for that. You made a mistake. It screwed up the guy's camera. Then you fix it for free. But you know.
Well, it's like that case in Australia where that lady won the case about masking or something, but then she still had to pay money for a fine.
I got a question for Roy. See if I know Roy will remember this camera brand. I did some research on a certain camera brand that probably had, realistically speaking, very good. It was a very, very small camera company. Talking about the same time frame or a couple years before the Nikon F1 came out. Companies. Topcon,
Yes.
Topcon. They were very, very, very well made cameras. And they actually had they had some features in their camera, like, auto indexing, with the apertures when you put the lens on, that you didn't have that you didn't have that for many, many, many years later on the Nikon bodies. So they had features in their camera that were better than what Nikon had, and their build quality was exceptional. The problem is now, as I'm finding out because I'm doing research on them, is there's really nobody out there that fixes them. If you have a problem with one, you're kind of screwed. I mean, you
Still
can get
find the
someone that,
lenses.
they had very good lenses. Very, very well built cameras, but they were
Most cameras are better built then, though.
I found in an article. Okay, I'll read from an article. It says they beat Nikon by 2 years to market with their first SLR, and each would continue introducing technical advances over the next few years, culminating with the brilliant RE Super, which in the U.S. was sold as the Besseler Topcon Super D in the USA, and Besseler was the U.S. distributor for Topcon until the early 70s. And in 1963, the U.S. Navy chose their cameras as the official 35 millimeter SLR over the Nikon F. I mean, that's how good their camera was. So they had some really, really good stuff, and unfortunately they were a very, very small company, and of course back in the 60s and the 70s, I mean, your main camera manufacturers were Canon, Nikon, and you had Olympus in the 70s, and Minolta. So you had Canon, Nikon,
Pentax.
Minolta, and you had some Pentaxes. But I mean, in terms of what they called the big four, was Canon, Nikon, Minolta, and eventually Olympus. And then you had, smaller brands. And some of these smaller brands had fantastic stuff. But the problem is, as the years went by, because they were too small, they just didn't have they didn't have the money to pour into the R&D and things like that to fight with the big guys anymore. But back in the 60s and the 70s, they were going toe to toe with some of the major players, and they were doing really, really well. I mean, there are a lot of very good vintage cameras out there that are not, Nikon and Canon. Of course, these were long before Sony was even didn't exist in the camera market back then. But I'm just saying, if you're a camera collector or whatnot, don't ignore the little guys, because there are some really, really great lenses and really, really cool cameras that were made by those little guys. The only negative is you got to be careful what you get, because there's a good chance that you're, other than maybe just getting new you could put new seals in a camera on your own, but other than new seals and a dampening foam for your mirror, if you had anything that functionally was really wrong with the camera, you probably wouldn't be able to get it fixed. That's another thing you look into. If you buy say you buy a Rolleiflex, you do a search and find out if there's anybody out there that services those cameras still. And there are people that service those cameras. And if you buy a Leica, I think they'll take any Leica camera and if you got the money, they'll make it like new. You could get an original Leica 1A from 1925 or something, that time frame, 1925, I think. And I'm sure you could send it back to Leica and they'll make the thing function like a charm. It's all about, how much you got to spend to make it that way. But there are some camera companies that will. Now, I heard a rumor, and I brought it up, I think, many shows ago. Nikon Rumors made a comment that they thought that Nikon was going to, for a brief period of time, service old Nikon cameras. And I only heard it that one time in their rumor, and I haven't heard anything about it since, because I might send them a couple old cameras if to clean and do a CLA on it for me if they're really going to get into the business of doing that. But I haven't heard any more about it.
Sounds good.
But
I've got a few to send them. None of mine are broken down, but a CLA would be nice.
Yeah.
One brand I missed, Contax. Contax used to make some nice cameras.
Yeah, the Contax.
The electronics is what fails on them. All these old cameras.
The Contax 2A was a great camera.
I miss all those old brands.
Yeah. So there's a lot of interesting things out there if you like to explore the old stuff, and I think maybe there's a market for it, but there's risk to it. And try to make sure unless you're just buying something, you're getting it super dirt cheap, and you say, if it doesn't work, I only paid $50 for it. Then sometimes you take a risk. I mean, I bought a camera one time for $50, and the camera was filthy dirty on the outside, but it worked perfect. So I spent a few hours cleaning it meticulously or whatever, made it look brand new, and the doggone thing, got a battery for it, and the thing worked fine. Worked absolutely fine. Cost me $50. But sometimes I can spend the $50 and sticky shutter, that kind of thing, and you go, well, I just kind of threw $50 away. I have a display item camera instead of a functional camera. But I try to get a camera that's functional, or something that if it's cosmetic, I can usually fix it myself. If it's minor mechanical, I can usually fix it myself. But I'm not going to peel the wrap off a camera body to get at the screws to rip the whole thing apart and get in there and mess with it. No, I don't have a setup or a workshop area to do that. Now we have Nikon Rumors has some of their first videos of the Nikon Museum in Tokyo, and just so you know how impressive this channel can be, we sent out our foreign correspondent Gustavo from the channel, and we sent him all the way to Japan. Literally, I'm not going to say we paid for the trip, but we sent them. We gave him a task going to Japan, and he sent me 3 images that he took from the Nikon Museum. So you can go on Nikon Rumors and you can look at some video shots of the museum, or our field correspondent, foreign correspondent here, went out to Japan and captured a few shots for us that I'll share with everybody.
Yeah, they've moved the museum.
Yeah, they moved the museum. So here's the. He sent me very small images. It just tells you he was there. So he sent this image. And then to prove that he's really there and not an imposter.
That's their headquarters, isn't it?
There's Gustavo.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the new building they've just built.
The new building. Well, there he is, the man himself. And then the video is pretty cool. So if you haven't watched the videos, I would definitely go check out the videos. And then he sent one last one. If I was in this place, I'd be in trouble. I mean, not that you could buy any of this stuff, but I would just, my wife wouldn't be able to get me out of there. It'd be like, there's a reason I probably would be in trouble if I went there, because I'd be looking at every camera for a half an hour. And it's funny notice how like every camera in here is black.
Yeah. Or
appears to be black. I mean, it's so that's kind of interesting. But they have a fairly large room, multiple rooms, but they got a fairly large room where they have cameras on one side and lenses on the other side. And then they had, if you watch the video, they have, Nikon made still do. They make stuff for the medical industry. They make microscopes. They make other equipment for the medical field, and they have that stuff on display as well. So it's kind of cool, their involvement and what they've done. And I'm sure he had a great time going to that museum. I'm sure he had a really good time. And Tim, since we don't see you as often as we would like, what's going on with you? What's going on in California? What have you been up to?
I don't have anything cool to talk about like Japan. I've just been busy with work. I think the first time I got out to shoot was it last weekend or the weekend before? I was at a birthday party for family, but I shot some photos there. But other than that, I haven't been shooting at all. So just been too busy with work. A lot of work going on, working long hours, working weekends. So
yeah, that stinks.
Yeah.
Put it mildly.
Tell me about it.
I had to change my word. I was going to use the other word, and I said, no, I just say stinks.
No, feel free. Yeah, I actually, I didn't get out of bed today until like almost 11. I was just exhausted. My daughter came over last night and she wanted me to help her wash her car. So we washed her car. And I think just after the week I had in washing the car and everything, and because we washed everything inside and out, and I was just exhausted.
Did you pass out on the ground and she had to spray you with the hose to get you up?
No. She was ready to pass out on the ground. She had just come from work too. So,
wow.
So we got the drunk wedding photographer is in here. So hello to him. And Roy says black cameras are best. I like the look of black cameras, but yeah, they'll show any blemish will show up like
because they're brass underneath and any marks and that show really easily.
Yeah,
so if it's black, it'll show every little error.
And they get the brassing effect, as they call it, because a lot of the top get brassing. Some people, some people like that look. Period. Anyway, they like the brass showing, underneath the paint, when it wears, But if you're looking at something in terms of getting the most for it as a collectible, you're trying to find one that doesn't have brassing on it. But from a point of view of functionality or whatever, that none of that stuff matters, in terms of how it works. Obviously, it's just an aesthetics thing. But The black, any scratches show up a lot. It's just like a black car, right? You buy a black car, every little scratch shows up. You get mad, you have a white car, it doesn't show up that much, but or a silver car, it doesn't show up that much, but black car, everything shows up.
The new black plastic bodies are another matter, though.
Yeah.
That's something different.
Yeah, it is.
But when they used to make cameras out of brass and paint them black.
Yeah. Well, like I said, hello, Rakesh. Rakesh is here. Good to see you. Yeah, I tend to, if sometimes there's depending on the camera brand and the model, sometimes at least in the vintage world, a black camera can cost considerably more than its silver and black counterpart, where the leatherette is black but the body is silver. So sometimes, and there are certain cameras that do look pretty good in silver, so I got a mixed bag there, but you can see, behind me, there's a lot of black. But I got both. What was interesting too, backtracking a little bit on the Topcon camera, and I forget, I got one behind me somewhere where they put the shutter release in the front of the camera. So the shutter release wasn't on the top plate. The shutter release was actually on the front of the camera. And I'll tell you, I don't know why they don't do that today. It's really, really comfortable when you're holding the camera to have the shutter release right there on the front. It's kind of nice. If you've never used a camera with a shutter release on the front of the camera versus the top plate, anybody that has one, try it out, because it's actually pretty cool. And you kind of wonder why they got away from it, but they did. But I don't exactly know why.
Yeah, I think I have one on my Nikon One J3 or V3. Yeah.
Probably adds more shape to it or something. I think the 45-degree angle trigger is probably the best way to go.
And then with the new Leica there, with the 43 millimeter lens, right? I believe, right?
43,
Yeah.
43. I find that interesting because back in the old days of rangefinder cameras, a lot of those cameras had 40 millimeter lenses on them. And, everybody, later on, everybody says, well, 50 millimeter is what you want. 50 millimeter is what is what you normally see, your angle of view when you're looking straight ahead or whatever. You want to get the 50 millimeter lens. But back in the day,
42 degrees.
Back in the day, man, 40 millimeters were really, really common. And then they got away from it. And now I read reviews or people commenting on the new Leica, and they're like, oh, 43 is so fantastic. It's like I'm laughing. I'm like, well, yeah, well, it used to be 40 back in 1960, 1950. It's funny how everything can go full circle. Everything goes full circle. Or my dad would say, when with ties, they had, you had the time frame where all the ties were narrow ties, and then the ties got really wide and fat. And my dad would say, "Oh, don't worry, 10 years from now, the other ones will make a comeback." And and they did. It's like if you keep all the ties you ever owned, if you had to wear a tie to work, eventually the ones that weren't in style, if you kept them long enough hanging up in the closet, eventually you were wearing them again.
Now, those really wide ones have never come back in style, though. The skinny ones did.
Yeah.
Flares are gone forever, thank goodness.
Yeah.
Hey, I see some people wearing bell bottoms again lately.
You're joking.
No, I've seen bell bottoms. I've seen bell bottoms
with stripes.
Yeah. Man, you never know. You never know.
Platforms as well.
You know what, I know I'd have to dig. I don't know if my mom took a picture of me with this one outfit I wore during the Saturday Night Fever days when disco was going on, and I went to a bar to meet some friends from work, and I wore this outfit, which I am, and it was bell bottoms, man. It flared out at the bottom big time, and I had a black shirt with the, where the buttons were each side. It was like silver going down the front, and I was really doing my John Travolta impersonation big time. Let me tell you, if I could ever find that horrible picture, I'm sure there's one somewhere in the house in a box somewhere. But oh my goodness, I can remember. It burned a hole in my head, though. I never forgot it. Nikon Rumors talked about the development of the new firmware for the Z6 III with that C2PA content credentials support. So in a nutshell, what that is where part of a program that Nikon and other camera manufacturers talked about trying to put something in their camera that makes that image, proves that it's authentic and it is not a AI generated image, that it is the real deal out of your camera, and that's what that's all about. And some people, I know some people have said, well, that's just a waste. I don't know why they're doing that. Well, excuse me. Well, they're doing that for maybe not so much more for amateur photographers, but there's a lot of professional photographers that like to enter, major photo contests, right? All over the world, photo contests in England and photo contests in different places. And some of them have some pretty good prizes, or maybe they're entering like John Ishii wife, Diana, had an image in the Smithsonian photo contest. So that's kind of what you need this for, is people at that level or people that like to enter photo contests where they have all these rules. You can't do this, you can't do that, you can only do minimum retouching and so on and so forth. And well, with AI becoming so prevalent, where there's a lot of video content on YouTube right now that someone just typed in something in Chat GPT and then there's there's video stuff out there that puts the whole thing together for you. You're hardly doing any work at all, and you could pump out hundreds of videos a week if you wanted to, and you're not really doing any work. You're not taking the pictures, you're not shooting the videos. It's just going to grab clips from wherever it can get them, put something all together and shove it out there into the world, and so something like this, at least, if you're someone that has to prove to, whether it be a client who wants to know that your work is, on the up and up, that it's the real deal, that you were really there, that you really took the picture, it is an AI or a photo contest, then, that kind of a thing is important. Not to everybody, but for some people, it's very, very important. Now, the parent company also from Nikon Rumors, the parent company of Ray-Ban, which is Essilor Luxottica, took a 5.1% stake in Nikon, and that was earlier in the week, and it resulted in Nikon's share price going up as much as 10%. And so their share price overall is up 20% since the start of the year. I'm gonna bring Roy over here onto the big screen so we can see what he's sharing with us here.
Oh, they were talking about dummy batteries.
Yeah.
All my V batteries are out on loan, but I've got a V battery that takes Sony FP battery and a dummy battery that goes into the Z camera.
Wow.
There's also
Excellent.
mains versions, and and cheaper Andorra ones. I've got a whole box of them over here somewhere.
Who's the man? Roy, who made that? Newer?
Question, no idea.
Well, what's on your battery? What's on your? I thought there was a brand on it.
Just says notice, warning, don't plug into the mains. That's a D battery connection, but wrong box.
I'm going to put up a question here from Jonathan. For live streaming, do you fellows rely on dummy batteries or native Z batteries? I'm weary of
Mostly
using
dummy batteries.
Yeah, I'm the exception to the rule here for the live streaming because I'm just using the camera right on my computer. I don't. I got so much blankety blank plugged in on my computer everywhere. I probably wouldn't even have a port to plug in the doggone.
You are getting sleepy.
I'm getting sleepy.
I just have my camera plugged into my computer, the USB-C cord, and it powers.
This is a mains one. Some work, some don't. The older Nikon dummy batteries don't work with some of the Z cameras. I'm using a cheap webcam at the moment. I'm going to look at that Insta360 that John mentioned, though.
Terry says he has one dummy for my Z9. Oh, I do too. I do too, and it's me.
They work fine on the D850 and the D500 and all those, but some of the new ones, the old dummy batteries don't work. But the Andorra one seems to work. This thing, that's got a Sony adapter in it, and it's got a dummy battery on the end. And that seems to work with the Z series. And you can use the great big Sony batteries.
Yeah, Jonathan, that's all I do. I keep the battery in the camera. I don't, it's got a battery in it, but yeah, I can live stream for 2-3 hours.
Yeah, it's not
I
enough.
I don't remember the longest live stream I was on, but I've never had my battery die when it was plugged in through USB-C. So,
well, I used to sit on for hours, and my batteries used to die quite often. So I got more inventive.
Well, when we had the 10-hour Chuck show that Tim and I disappeared from at midnight, that went till 7:30 in the morning or whatever, you would have definitely needed extra batteries for that.
Yes. I was using batteries then, and I changing them every 2 hours. If you turn off your back screen, it lasts longer too.
Yeah.
But were you also tethered to the laptop or tethered to the computer through USB-C with power delivery?
Yeah, I am now. I use the Z8 because it's got the extra port.
Yeah.
So I have dummy batteries in all my cameras, and then I just use the HDMI cable to eCam. Or I mean the Elgato Cam Link 4K, and then that's to a USB port on the computer.
Uh-oh, here's bad Nikon news from Sanjit.
Oh, no.
600 f4 has malfunctioned. Computer has smoke coming out the back.
Oh, man.
That's where we just type no. That stinks. I know I wasn't happy when my 500 PF autofocus motors went. I did get it fixed, and it was like brand new. Obviously, when I got it back, it cost a pretty good amount of money. But then when I thought about it, I probably took 100,000 shots with the doggone thing. I mean, they don't last forever. Stuff doesn't last forever. I mean, I just used it and used it and used it and used it,
Normally Nikon stuff's pretty rugged though.
Now, Nikon's come out with, they introduced some new stabilized binoculars that have a 12-hour battery life. So if you're interested in stabilized binoculars, you can go to Nikon Rumors and you can get additional information there. Now, they kind of said, which somewhat incorrectly, they said Nikon photo contest for 2024 to 2025 has been renamed the Nikon Film and Photo Contest. And then they said, entries are, implied that you could enter your submissions now. And I went on Nikon's website and there's nothing in there saying that they're accepting any admissions right now. So I just worded it, pay attention for notifications for submissions. But Nikon Rumors made it out like they're accepting entries right now. And I can't find any evidence of that they're doing that right now. And then they had a funky neon sign on a building somewhere from October 17th to 24th. Oh, it was in Canada, October 17th to 24th. It said Nikon will be having a vintage pop-up experience in the Yorkdale Mall in Canada. And they had this funky, neon sign that they put up. And they said, bring home printed photos of you and your friends, take selfies, and share on social media to be entered for a chance to win a Nikon ZFC camera. So if you are in Canada, of course, I don't know. I haven't seen David in the chat, and Joey left a long time ago. But say, Joey, you go take some selfies, and maybe you can win a ZFC. And one of the last things on Nikon Rumors, which try not to get too excited about, the small rig selling orange batteries for the month of October at 15% off. Well, actually, they're selling them until October 21st, so there's only a couple days left. And they also have blue batteries available as well. And supposedly these batteries have quicker charge times than I guess the Nikon ones do, but I don't know that for a fact. It's just how it's being advertised. So I don't own one, so I can't really say whether that's true or not.
Like trick or treat.
The shorter they live.
It's like trick or treat. You don't know if it's going to work in your camera until you get it or not.
Yeah, and a new model may not work at all.
So,
speaking of Nikon Rumors, any more rumors about the new Laowa tilt shift lenses?
No, I still can't find pricing information on them.
I thought it was a pre-order, where it's, what is it? They build up the money in order to make it.
Like a Kickstarter program?
Yeah. I thought that's what it was.
Very
It said
strange.
they were it had a date.
Pay the lower price now in the Kickstarter, and then when it's ready to sell, then they'll raise the price. But that's what they were doing.
Okay.
So there's a Kickstarter campaign for those?
Yeah. So it's cheaper now, and that's if they make it.
Terry's taking off. Your fellow Aussie's leaving us here, Roy. He's going to a MotoGP event. So have a good one, Terry. Have fun. Get some good shots. And then Sanjit's saying that they got 15 Nikon binoculars thanks to the Arkansas University and Audubon Society.
Oh, wow.
Going to get more kids connected to nature with the binoculars. That's great. That's great. Like I think I said last week on the show, was Nikon donated a whole bunch of red cinema cameras and Nikon Z6 IIIs to one of the universities that is tied in with the arts and sciences or something in Hollywood there, and I think it was USC's photo program or something where that's people go there to learn how to be directors and producers and all that kind of stuff. And Nikon gave them a whole bunch of stuff to use for their developing their craft, which I thought was a very good idea that they did something like that. because we always say, you got to get young people involved. You got to create. You have to create a customer base, because eventually all us guys aren't going to be around anymore to buy any more of your stuff. So you can't rely on us. You got to get people, young people, interested in buying Nikon products. And what better way than to, supply products to colleges and even high schools. If you got high schools that have a photo class that you can attend as an optional course that you could take in high school or whatever. I mean, Nikon should get involved with donating gear to high schools as well. I mean, the sooner you get that stuff in people's hands, they're your future customers. We're on a limited timeline from a customer base point of view. I mean, I don't know how many more new Nikons are going to be in my future, but get the young people involved. That's what you got to do.
Instead of binoculars, you get a field scope. This fits on a long lens, turns into a telescope. Much cheaper than binoculars. This one's by Kinko. I think it's only about $40-50. Just plug it onto your longest lens, and you got a nice long telescope.
No, that's neat.
See how Roy just has this stuff like right there.
It's got to be handy,
It's like count it. You don't even have to count to 10. You can just say, Roy, you got one of these widgets, and you got. Oh, wait a minute. You hear a little rustling. Then I'll say, yep, bing, you're in.
I bought my wife a pair of binoculars. She never uses them.
I have a pair in the storage area in my trunk of my SUV, and sometimes I remember to take them out. Sometimes I don't. I did a few once in a while. I do my did you know commentary where I throw crazy questions into the internet, or I do research to try to get answers to stupid Jeff Neville questions on cameras or flat or whatever it may be. So I have a few did you know comments to share with everybody. So the first 35 millimeter camera, there you go, Kenko lens scope.
It's only the old F mount one, but everyone's got old F mount long lenses laying around doing nothing.
Yep. There you go. So the first 35 millimeter camera that had a tripod socket in the center was actually the first Leica, the Leica 1A, released in 1925. Now, it should be noted that there were many cameras, many early 35 millimeter cameras where the tripod socket was not centered. It was,
or if it's one at all.
Or one at all. Some of them had the socket way on one corner or the other. It certainly wasn't centered with the middle of the lens. But it's interesting that the first Leica had one right where we would expect it now. When we buy something. Other tidbits of silly information. The Canon A1 was the first camera that had the PASM modes for program, aperture priority, shutter priority, and manual modes. So the first camera that had PASM modes was the Canon A1. The first aperture priority camera was the Pentax ES in 1971. And I'm pretty sure the first camera that had aperture priority and shutter priority was a Minolta camera, but I don't remember which one it was, but I'm pretty sure that Minolta was the first one that had aperture priority and shutter priority. And the Pentax Spotmatic 2 was the first 35 millimeter camera to have a fixed hot shoe on top of the pentaprism. What's that, Roy, that you were showing?
That's a 500 millimeter reflex lens.
Yeah.
Is that like an F8 or something?
This one's F5.
F5?
I've got two of them. One's F8, one's F5.
Okay. Now, are those from the 80s?
Yes, or 70s. That's the
70s or
1000mm one.
They're great if you like donuts.
Yeah, donut bokeh,
Donut
Yeah.
bulb. Yeah.
but they don't have any color aberrations the way lens elements do. That's why you see them on the big telescopes that look at the stars with.
Yeah.
That's why they use mirrors instead of lenses.
So like I said, the Pentax was Spotmatic had the fixed hot shoe on the top of the pentaprism, and if you remember right, and I think I showed it episodes ago, the little slide-on attachment that you had to put on the old Nikon F bodies, to mount your flash, because you had removable pentaprisms and you did not have a hot shoe on the on the pentaprism.
No.
You had a slide-on attachment that went right where Roy's showing. I don't know if you can see my little arrow here, right where he's pointing. That slid over that, and it was a cold shoe. It was not a hot shoe. At least the first one.
A hot shoe version.
Yeah.
The
So
F2, they had a hot shoe version.
now this I found interesting. The first flash bulb became commercially, the key word is commercially here. The first flash bulb became commercially available in 1930. They were created by Johannes Ostermeyer, and they were roughly the size of a light bulb at that time. They used magnesium filaments and oxygen contained in a glass bulb, and sometimes the bulbs would detonate early, and sometimes the glass would explode and get
I
all
remember
over.
them well.
So you could end up having a portrait shot and ending up going home with a bloody face if that light bulb blows up and the glass comes at you. Watch out.
And they use cordite to trigger them.
And eventually they changed the glass bulbs, as we know, especially if you were around in the 50s, to plastic instead of glass. The old blue bulbs. What do you got there, Tim?
The flash bulbs.
Okay.
See them too well.
There we go.
Let me see. I'm not using a manual focus lens, so.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah,
Blue
those are the skinny ones. Yeah.
I burnt many a finger on them.
Yeah, you had the and another thing that was funny, if you had when they went to plastic, they started using zirconium instead of magnesium because it had a stronger light. The element had a stronger light at that time. But when you had let's see. Let me scroll myself over here quickly. Okay. When you had the Sylvania blue dot bulbs, okay. These were the ones where the plastic would melt. Got very, very hot. I'll slide one out so you can see it. Remember these? Okay. So when these things went off, they were very, very hot, and on those reflector flashes, like in the picture here, okay, those type of flash units, when they first came out, you had to twist the bulbs out. You had to grab them, and you'd grab them too early, and you'd fry the skin off your fingers. And then they finally got smarter with those flashes, and they had an eject button that you could push the button on the back of the flash, and it would pop pop the bulb out so you wouldn't have to touch it with your bare fingers, because everybody
No,
was
they're
getting,
flash cubes.
everybody was
flash
getting
cubes?
burnt. Yeah.
Looks like Jonathan's taking off.
Okay, Jonathan, take it easy. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for visiting. We appreciate it. But and then when they came out of came out with the multiple flashes on the square flash bulbs or flash cubes that they used on the Instamatic cameras. Take the flash would go off, you'd advance it and it would rotate and then pop another flash. Those were actually a pretty smart idea. Didn't have a lot of range because the bulb wasn't very big, but if you're taking a picture of your kid and within 10 or 12 feet away, they were okay. Of course, you didn't have red eye reduction on those cameras, of course. So all the pictures of your children, they all looked like they were devils because they all had red eyes. Other than that,
Too close to the camera.
Yeah. So what else do we got? Sony rumors. We got some Sony rumors. So they have. These is kind of interesting. I didn't have time to watch the videos because I just don't always have the time to watch a ton of videos on different products that come out. But there's these new Thighpoc Simera-C Cine E-mount full frame lenses that you can get on pre-order. They're all metal construction. They're compact. They're light. They have 16 aperture blades for nice bokeh, and they're very affordable. They have a 50 millimeter. Roy, maybe you can explain why, because I'm not a cinema lens, but why do they use let's say like here 50 millimeter T 1.5? Why do they say T instead of an F 1.5?
Because that's transmission of light as opposed to aperture. Aperture is only a rough guide of how much light's getting through, whereas T is the actual amount of light it's getting through.
Well, so how would you know how much light's really getting through at any given f-stop?
You don't, because most camera manufacturers bend the truth a little, especially the Chinese ones. They can be a stop slower or more than they claim to be.
So they came out with a 50 T 1.5, a 35 T 1.5, a 28 T 1.5, and a 75 T 1.5, and they're all the same price, $879. And I did start looking at some of the videos, and some of the comments were like, one guy, the title said, "These are the best stinking lenses I've ever tested." They were like, whoever it was really impressed with them. So they got multiple YouTube videos about these Thighpoc Simera-C Cine E-mount full frame lenses. So if you're a Sony user and you're interested in Cine lenses, I would definitely go to their channel, and there's probably 3 or 4 different videos about these lenses. So I would definitely go and take a look at it if you're in the market for something like that, or you have an interest in that. Now Sony also talked about a competitor at their end. They talked about a competitor to the Fujifilm X100 version 6, X100 6. And they talked about the new 100 to 300 millimeter f2.8 and the continuation of an A7S series. So they have an interview with someone in management or sales at Sony on the Sony Alpha Rumors channel, where you can listen to the whole conversation. Sony announced a new dual battery charger for their NP-FZ100 batteries. It's $119.99. They also have a DC-C1 DC coupler that provides continuous power to cameras using the NP-FZ100 batteries. That's $129.99, and that has the dummy battery that you would put in and use. And I'm not familiar with a lot of the Sony software or certain things that they have. They just said that their Sony Electronics division released a new updates for what they're calling its camera remote toolkit. So I would just recommend, if you know what that is, which I don't, once again, go to Sony Alpha Rumors and read that article. Sony is supposed to announce a new camera this year. Sony Alpha Rumors their thoughts are that this may be the A1 version 2, the A1 Mark II, and that they may announce it with a lens as well. And they're making the assumption that it would be the 24-70 f2 GM lens, but it is not yet. Neither of those, what they're thinking, has been confirmed yet. That's just their best guess. Sony A7 IV firmware 4.0 got released. For those of you that have that camera, go check out what that does. There's a whole list of what that firmware does, which is way too long to go over on this show without taking us until 2 in the morning. So just check it out if you got an A7 IV camera. The Viltrox autofocus 28mm f4.5 pancake lens is now available. It's a whopping $99. So dump out the loose change in your coffee can and go buy that lens.
Price of McDonald's these days.
Yeah. Remember when Happy Meals were 99 cents?
No.
Oh, thanks a lot, buddy. You can't lie. You can't lie for once. You can't lie for once.
I do remember when cheeseburgers were like 25 cents, but
well, when I was a kid, my mom never drove a car. My mom never had a driver's license. So when we needed groceries, my dad always had he had 2 jobs, and one of his jobs was at night he delivered bulk newspapers of the Hartford Courant, which I don't know if it's still around, but at one time it was America's oldest continuous running news paper in the country. And so he would do bulk delivery. So he would deliver all the papers that went to all the paper boys' houses to go and deliver the papers, and then he would deliver larger quantities of newspapers to hotels and 7-Elevens and that kind of thing. And but anyway, so we always had either a van, because of that job that he had always had to have a van or a station wagon to load the papers in. So most of the time it was a station wagon, and we didn't need groceries, so he'd throw everybody in the car because he wasn't going to leave the 2 of us, my sister and I, home alone. That wouldn't work out too well. So we're all in the car, and my mom would go in the supermarket, and we'd be sitting in the car for well over an hour while she shopped. And my dad would have his news. He didn't care. He had his newspaper, and he had a beer bottle back in those days. He had a beer bottle that he was drinking a beer in the car while he's reading the newspaper, waiting for mom to get out of the supermarket. And then because if we were good in the car and didn't attack each other and pick on each other too much, then afterwards we'd all go to McDonald's and we got a Happy Meal. So that was our reward for being good, was every Friday night we'd have a Happy Meal at McDonald's. So that was the big night out was Happy Meals for everybody or Happy Meals for the kids anyway. Now Sony had a blurb that they put out on the Rumor Channel, and this is how they worded it. They say, but yesterday Zeiss did something unexpected. They released a new video promoting their lenses, exactly 4 years after the last Zeiss Batis video. In the most realistic scenario, this means nothing. Maybe it's just a random accident. In the optimistic scenario, maybe Zeiss is rethinking its strategy and is ready to launch new lenses for the Sony E-mount, ? So the person who wrote the commentary here says, I'm just speculating here, but I think there are a few good reasons why they might do this. Reason number one, the decade-long downward trend in the camera market has stopped, and there are clear signs that the market is now stable. So it's easier to invest in such an environment. Number two, the high-end market is still healthy, and full-frame cameras are now the norm. And number three, Zeiss still has an attractive brand name and would certainly have no problem selling new lenses if they're good enough. Well, they've always been good enough, but lens technology has changes so rapidly that, you know, they would need to formulate new lens designs and not just, you know, kick out old stuff because there's new stuff out there that's cheaper and better.
They're made by Casina now anyway, so
point.
they've changed. They're not quite as good as they used to be.
Now we jump to Fuji rumors because we touch on all these guys. Try to a little bit. Fuji rumors. They have a YouTube video on the new X-M5 camera versus the X-T5 autofocus. They did an autofocus test. Apparently, it was no contest. The XM5 won hands down. And so they have a YouTube video about that on FujiRumors.com. And then there's also, of course, rumors of a firmware upgrade for the X-T5. So one has to assume that they may do autofocus improvements to that camera so that they're pretty much the same, but we don't know for sure. And then they had a video titled X-M5 Mini Powerhouse is also available to view, along with another one titled the 10 new features of the XM5. And the XM5, for those who don't know what it is, a brief description is first it costs $899. So Fuji came out with this camera. It's a vlogging camera. It doesn't have an EVF, so they came out with this camera trying to entice people that take pictures with cell phones to spend, in most cases, probably less than what they spent for their phone to have something that would give them better quality images.
It's like the Z30.
And be good for video content. So for $899, you get it with a 15 to 45 millimeter f3.5 to 5.6 optical image stabilized power zoom lens. $100 less just for the body only. It's a 26.1 megapixel APS-C camera, like I said, with no EVF. It does 6.2K at 29.97 frames per second video, 10-bit, 425-point autofocus, AI-assisted processing algorithms. See, that'll be an interesting thing, you know, with all this validation that the image was, that you took the image with your camera, with all this quote-unquote, here you go, AI-assisted processing algorithms. Okay, so a lot of these cameras have, whether they really should be using the word AI is something that we could argue for days and days and days, but the fact that they're calling it AI and all these quote-unquote AI features are being put in, you know, the new Canon cameras that just came out and everything else, it's going to make, I don't know how that authenticity program is going to work when you got camera bodies that theoretically are saying they got AI assist or AI this or AI that. You know, if you can't turn those features off, you can't enter anything you took with that kind of a camera because it has AI features in it. You know, how far do we go? How far can you go with it? You know? But it does, the camera also shoots up to 30, it'll do 30 frames per second, but just in JPEG mode with a 1.25 times crop. And it has a 3-inch, 1.04 million dot tilting touchscreen. Estimated ship date November 14th. So that they threw that camera out into the ring, as they say, to try to capture or pull people away from their iPhones to use a camera. Now they have other videos such as the Fujinon XF 16 to 55 f2.8 version 2 versus the version 1. Is the new version worth the switch? And then they have another one that's called that's comparing those two lenses, version 1 versus version 2, and they're also comparing it to a Sigma 18 to 50 f2.8. So they got a video on that. And then they said small rig X-M5 accessory solved two problems with the X-M5. They have a L-shaped mount plate that you can buy that has a silicone handle on it, so you can improve the gripability of the camera, because it doesn't really have a very large protuberance on the front for gripping. So small rig has a solution for that. They have a retro cage that you could buy that goes on the camera for your video creation needs, a thumb grip that you can get, and then they also sell a leather half case if you want a leather half case for your camera, which some of those half cases are pretty, for that people make for even not just old vintage cameras, but they make them for some more modern cameras. They're pretty nice looking half cases. I mean, it's because what usually gets banged up on your camera, it's like it's usually the bottom plate of the camera that takes a lot of abuse, right? So if you have
Not on mine.
not
It's usually
on
the top.
the top.
Trouble is you've got to change the batteries. Don't forget, and putting a case underneath is going to make it more interesting.
You got a half case there,
Yeah.
Randall?
Yeah. And you can change the batteries in the SD card. Yeah.
Oh, how do you get it to batteries with the case on? It's just open?
Yeah. But you see, it's closed because Leica made the Q3. So you just hit that and it just pops out.
Oh, okay. So it has no leather on the bottom at all.
Yeah. Yeah. It's already sealed. It's just a case, and it's also Arctic Swiss. Let's see. Here's another one. You're talking about thumb grips. Let's see. So here's a cage for. Let me move that a little bit. So this cage right here is small rig. It's for the A7C2 and A7CR. That type. And the thing is, this is an A7C, and it works fine. But I got that thumb grip. I got wooden handle, the cage, and I got different areas where I can mount like a light, another sound or video recorder and stuff. So,
I'll be honest with you, and maybe this is just me being paranoid. Leica obviously was the first camera manufacturer to come out with those thumb grips that slide into the hot shoe. I get nervous about that. That something's going to get loose. I don't know. I'm a little paranoid about wanting to put a thumb rest that's secured via the hot shoe.
I don't put it on the Leica, but I put it on the Sony.
Yeah.
All right, but that's an old camera.
Yeah.
All right. I have to put some use to it. So
yeah.
But I did notice though that when you do put a thumb grip on a Leica, it does get loose. So that's why I went with the half case.
Yeah.
They have a pretty good grip on the back, and I can handle it. And as you notice, it doesn't go underneath. So
yeah,
pretty good reach. Yeah, small rig has been doing it for years.
Yeah.
Let's see this one. This is like show and tell. I feel like Roy. Let's see. What camera is this? Oh, these are the.
Remember, you got at least 40 camera bags to go through.
I know. There we go. Got it. So, we were talking about the X106.
Yep.
Okay. Small rig came up with a fancy thing. Look at this. Let me get right here. And back a little bit. All right.
Yeah, cool. There you go.
So you see, it's a retro style cage.
How can you
Okay,
tell?
And then you got, your thumb grip right here and stuff. So, they've been doing it for quite a while. And I like small rig.
I do too.
Yeah, and they're not overly priced either.
That's right. Let's see, Hogue and who's the other one? I forget, but like there's another, just an L bracket or a bottom bracket, but this is like for my old point and shoot for Sony RX100. And of course, you can get the battery out. Yeah, this one still the floppy drive is in here, but you can get the battery out. But look how small the battery is. So
Yeah.
I have dummy batteries for these cameras.
Yeah, that looks like that looks like a small battery that you'd have in one of the old Nikon point and shoots.
Yeah,
One
like
of the
the
small Nikon point and shoots.
yeah, like the cold picks. Yeah, and then of
Yeah,
course,
like this.
yeah. All right, so I have a dummy battery.
Hey, Gustavo's here.
Hey, Gustavo. Yes, I did show the images, Gustavo. I said that we had our foreign correspondent that we sent out from the show to go to Japan and take images of the Nikon Museum. So you're now known as the foreign correspondent for the show.
Yeah, you need to stay in Japan.
Yeah, here's the. Let me slide my face over here. Yeah, this is Randall. This is the battery in the
Yeah.
about the same size, right?
Yeah,
Here's the rest
yeah.
of it.
That's the whole battery for the little cool picks.
And
it.
it only lasts for about what 100 shots if you're lucky.
Doesn't last very long.
Film days, the batteries would last 6 months or 12 months.
You know, but
Okay, this one goes here.
now we'll get to some Canon stuff. And Gustavo, I hope you're having a great time. I know you probably got shooed out of the Nikon Museum from your wife sooner than you wanted to, because you probably just wanted to gawk at all those cameras and lenses for like half the day. But I'm sure you didn't have that opportunity. But it's great that you were able to go there and see it, though. I mean, in person. He's in Kyoto, Japan right now. So on the camera rumors front, Canon rumors did something they don't normally do, and I guess the only reason they did it was because quote unquote everybody else is doing it. Whether the information's any good or not, I don't want to say is irrelevant, but they shared the EOS R6 Mark III specs from a third party rumor site called Weibo, Weibo. He said, and they claim it's a hit or miss regarding accuracy, but they decided to publish it anyway because everybody else is. So they're saying it's going to have a 24 megapixel sensor, and they actually call out the model number of the sensor, which is also in one of their other cameras, newer cameras currently. It's going to have a digic accelerated processor, 8.5 stop, collaborative image stabilization, same focus system as the EOS R5 Mark II, highly reliable 14-bit, 30 frame per second RAW, electronic shutter, continuous shooting, in-camera neural network noise reduction. This is going to be interesting with these cameras putting noise reduction into the bodies now. High resolution magnification capabilities in camera. Supports AF-AVC S and XF-HEVCS recording of C, which is Canon 4K 120p, and 6K oversampled Canon 4K. It supports 6K 30 and 4K 60 cinema raw light recording. And so the Canon Rumors is saying these specifications seem to be close to what we expected. Mentioning the part number of the sensor is a little unusual for a high-level rumor, but it does check out, as Tech Insights has determined that the R3 sensor is that same part number that they called out. So apparently he's going to have the same sensor as the R3. So they go on to say it could be that a little truth gets stuffed into a rumor and the rest is fiction, and we haven't had much in the way of specification confirmation at this time. So they say they would like to take the 10,000 foot level information as accurate, since that's what we've already known, but I wouldn't go about pre-ordering based on the video specs and the neural network features quite yet. And they say if the specs and features are accurate, then this is quite the shot across Sony and Nikon's bows, as the R6 Mark II is continually a monthly best-selling camera body. This would certainly mean that Canon seems to be determined to make it far better while they still have the momentum. Then they announced, they said Canon released, they recently teased 3 new hybrid lenses coming in on October 30th of 2024. They said, we know that Canon will announce the RF 24mm f1.4L VCM, the RF 50mm f1.4L VCM, and the RF 70 to 200mm f2.8 LIS USMZ, blah, blah, blah. In regards to the 70 to 200, they're saying it will be compatible with teleconverters. And they haven't confirmed if that 70 to 200 will be coming in both black and Canon white body styles. Canon, and out of Canon rumors, this is the last thing I wrote down for things to talk about. Canon Rumors actually says on their site that Fujifilm is now 40% of the non-full frame camera market. That's high.
It is.
40%. So I'm sure that kind of bothers Sony, because Sony, of course, has more APS-C bodies than Nikon does. And so 40%, but of course that's, other than medium format, that's all they make. So that's
yeah, but that's dying, that market. I like the Sony 6000 series though; they're quite nice cameras. Hate the A7.
Yeah, there was I'm trying to think. They had an A6400, didn't they, at one time?
Yeah,
It still had a flat. Yeah.
There was a young lady before I retired that bought the A6400, and she just absolutely loved it. She absolutely loved it.
They seemed a lot more reliable than the A7 series too.
Jeff and Leslie are taking off. They're saying they got playing 2 gigs tomorrow, 2 different church events, and needs his beauty sleep. All right, have a good one. Thanks for coming on.
Church events.
Let's see.
Churches are interesting to photograph though. Weddings are another thing.
Yeah, I mean some of the older churches with the very very fantastic stained glass that are in some old churches are amazing. You get the light you get the light coming through those, you can get some really, really nice pictures.
Challenge to photograph without a tripod, but interesting.
Yeah. Gustavo's saying that in his comments here in the chat that the Canon and Sony headquarters were also nearby the hotel he was staying in. But I don't think he went to those.
I would. Spy on the competition.
Yeah, 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 yeah. If you're our foreign correspondent, Gustavo, you're supposed to be getting all the dirt from these guys. You're supposed to come back with a report card and a cheat sheet and who said what about who and all the dirt. You're right on the streets, man. You're right there where you're hearing everything. Firsthand knowledge. You can say I had firsthand knowledge of this rumor. But yeah, that's great that they're having a good time there. I mean,
it's hard not to in Japan.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm jealous. Last time I saw that new Nikon Museum, it had all scaffolding up.
So here we go. We got an Albert. Albert's still here, and he talking to Roy, saying he completed adapting the spectacular 6x6 Raleigh Heizomat 150 millimeter 2.8 projection lens on a Nikon Z and an F body with 20 aperture blades and focusing, and it's amazing.
Some of those old lenses are fun though. You wouldn't do it you wouldn't use them for work, but they're a lot of fun to use.
Yeah, Albert, I would think sometimes by the time you have to machine and make your adapters and you put those lenses on your cameras and everything, and if you go out on the streets with them, I'm sure you get a lot of looks. You get a lot of people trying to figure out what is that on that camera, you know? It doesn't look like something here doesn't seem right, you know, if somebody's, looking at with everything that you adapt. I mean, most people probably always gawking at your camera, just saying, that lens doesn't go with that camera body, you know? But I think it's great that you do it and you have the knowledge to be able to do it. I mean, that's cool. You might have to get Albert, I'm wondering, did you invest in a 3D printer at all? Are you doing any stuff with 3D printing?
I love my 3D printer. Solves a lot of problems.
What do you use it for? You make lens caps and stuff with it?
At the basic level, I make all sorts of brackets and things and holders and where am I? Well, it's all I could reach. This one's broken, so I was going to print another one. It's a tripod holder. I just attach it to this one's broken as my wife ran over it, but so I got to print another one. I'm just going to screw a few of these on the wall to hang up the tripods.
Okay.
Things like that. It's handy. You can print almost anything with a 3D printer. Hand brackets.
Yeah.
What else? Lots of little things. Things for holding batteries. Where am I?
Oh yeah. I like it.
It's got a lot of little uses that you don't think of until you got one. Lens hoods.
Lens hoods.
All sorts of things.
So where do you buy your material from for your 3D printers? Or you buy it all
Internet.
online?
Online, yeah. It's pretty cheap. It's It's dead cheap, that stuff. There's Thingiverse and places like that to download models that are already made too, if you don't want to make them yourself.
Well, you have that one guy there
Three in the top of the 10th.
What's that, Tim?
I said Yankees just scored 3 in the top of the 10th inning.
See, you come to this channel and you get sports updates too. I mean, you don't get that anywhere else, guys. You know, this is it. This is the place to be.
There's a reason for that.
Yeah. If you watch the Nikon video, they have a on display this. It almost looks like a bullet, but it's huge. It looks like more like it's gigantic. It looks like I guess you'd say it looks like a small missile. It's actually a big chunk of glass that I guess they use to make lens that they
You talk about the big lump of lens at the museum.
Yeah, their lenses with.
Probably weighs as much as a car.
Yeah, so Gustavo says the big chunk of glass in the first gallery is amazing. Clear as air, he says.
Lens quality glass.
Did you see the Knock 95 on there? What is it? Was it a 50 millimeter 095?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Or
I played
55
it a long time ago.
Yeah.
I would have bought it if it was AF, but you can't use a lens like that manually. It just takes too much work.
So Gustavo's going to send us a full report when he comes back.
Actually, I think it's 58 millimeters, the not
Yeah,
like the old one.
Yeah, those lenses are, I think those lenses are more of a demonstration of the technical capabilities for bragging rights, more so than necessarily something that they expect to make very many of. I mean,
It's a beautiful lens, but to manual focus at 0.95 is a real handful.
Yeah, what's your depth of field? 0.2 of an inch.
Oh, you'd be lucky to get that much.
It's like you got the pimple on the end of the nose, and then the nose itself is all blurry. Greg says wouldn't be surprised if you had an aerospace construction and launch facility at your house.
When I was at high school, I tried that. I got in terrible trouble trying to launch a rocket.
Oh, you could be doing those. Who's the guy that sells those? They're fairly. I don't know if I want to say they're cheap. They're not too cheap. I mean, they're a bit of money. The guy that makes those lens caps for the large telephoto lenses that Nikon makes, that they don't, where they just give you that cover to put over it. You know, they don't give you a lens cap.
Yeah, I know the brand. It's just slipped my mind right now.
I can't think of the name of the guy.
Not cheap though.
I think, yeah, they're like, $60, $70 or more for a lens cap, but they're all
Zemlin.
I just print my own.
Zemlin?
There you go.
So you said Zemlin?
Zemlin, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm too stingy though. I'd rather spend the money on something else.
Yeah, Albert, if you want to pop in. I mean, we're going to be on for 20 more minutes. Up to you. You're welcome. I'll put the link in the I'll put the link in the chat if you want to come in. I'll leave that up to you, or you can always do it next week if you want. Whatever strikes your fancy. We'll put in there's the link. So we got a little bit of time yet. We got another 20 minutes. And
3D printers go well with photography because you need so many little odd little shapes and things, brackets and.
Yeah.
Mr. Daniels is leaving us. Thanks for popping in, my friend, and hanging around with us bums. We got to have some company. I thought it was gonna be just me and Roy tonight, to be honest with you, because Gustavo's on his field mission, and David's somewhere out in the fields. There's two guys down. John told me he wouldn't be on, but he did come on for a little while. We haven't seen Wayne in a long time.
No, he must be busy.
And then Chuck couldn't come on this week, but he'll be here next week. For those of you wondering where he is, but he had things going on, so he wasn't coming on tonight. But he will be here next week. And I figured everybody was just leaving me because I announced I'm going to retire, and everybody's PO'd at me, and nobody wants to come on with me anymore. That's what I was thinking.
But, they wouldn't do that.
But as I mentioned to everyone, that we are going to have I will be having a Restream event with the panel members, probably mid-November. We're going to figure out a plan to keep a channel of some kind going for everyone to continue to share. And I'm going to be sending out an email to everybody on the panel early next week, where I captured some of my thoughts and suggestions of possible things to consider for down the road. And I'm going to send that out to everybody on the panel. And then and I'll write it in the letterhead when I send out the email, and I'll just ask everybody, and obviously the guys here are hearing it firsthand. I'm going to ask everybody to just read what my thoughts are, and add to that list. Add to that list, or you think of something that you want to add to that list. Send me an email. I'll update my list, and then when we have the meeting in the middle of November, we'll have everybody's thoughts on one document, and we can bring it up and start the conversation and figure out, what we're going to do, or what you guys want to do, whatever. I'm just going to facilitate it, but we are going to work hard to continue to have a place for people to come to. It just the exact format is TBD. There's a lot of unknowns, and that's what we have to have a discussion on. Like I said, in the middle of November, and decide, is it going to be a similar format? Is the format going to change? Is it going to be done by one person with people on the panel? Is it going to be alternate people doing the show week to week? Is it going to be the same night? Is it going to be the same time? Is it still going to be 3 hours? Is it going to be a 1 hour show? There's a million things to talk about to kind of get things lined up for after the end of the year, so that there's something that we can share with everybody before the end of the year of what's going to happen, what you can expect for the new year. And we owe that to you guys, and we're going to try our best to work something out and figure something out. Okay, here's a something I didn't know, and I was wondering if he was ever going to settle down. Wayne is moving and getting settled more permanently, so that's why we haven't heard from him. He's been kind of like hopping around between three major locations. He'd go to didn't he go to like the Hong Kong sometimes, and he'd go to Mongolia, and then of course he was in Malaysia as well, right? So he was kind of like bouncing around between 3 or more places, and so I was wondering when he was going to settle down. So that's good. Gustavo says he tried to connect, but the to come on the show, but it didn't work with the whole hotel Wi-Fi or the pocket Wi-Fi. Well, since you're a field agent, you know, Gustavo. Now you know you got to have that secret password to get into the show, and we didn't work one out before you left. Tim's got the New York Yankee. On the
They
phone.
they just won. They're in the World Series.
They won.
That's what that sign is I see everywhere. I wondered what it was.
Yeah, it's
New
for
York
the
Yankees.
New York Yankees.
Yeah. We got Albert trying to come in here.
I'm getting the wrong angle. Hold on.
It could be worse.
It's either Albert or somebody or an Albert clone, someone that looks like Albert.
Lost the picture.
Okay, your sound just went.
Yeah, for some reason, I think you have a bad internet connection or whatever, because your image is freezing and your audio is very choppy. Yeah, right now we can't understand any of your audio, and your video is frozen.
I'm trying.
And then one of his website or web browser is on also. So you're getting the echo.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Makes it interesting. The joys of a live show.
Isn't technology lovely? We love technology. Technology is great when it works, and when it doesn't work, you're looking for the sledgehammer. I know I'm that way. Sometimes, you know, remember when we were kids, you know, if your TV acted funny, your dad would walk up to it and hit it on the side, and all of a sudden it would work again.
All the loose solder joints.
Yeah, just go give it a good whack on the side, and all of a sudden, yeah, there's the picture again.
How about the old roof antennas, and you had the box on top of your TV where you could rotate it?
Oh yeah, you'd hear the click, 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 click.
Yeah.
And if you had the fancy one, the you had a line on the knob that lit up.
Yeah.
You know.
I guess we had the fancy one.
Yeah. If you had the cheap one, it was just like a silver paint on it, you know. But if you had the fancy one, it would light up.
Okay, here he comes. Yeah, I had trouble last week. I had an update either to the software or Mac OS, and
I might need a software update.
Yeah.
Damn, this stinks.
Yeah.
I'm running Windows, and they've done an update and nothing works.
We just saw you for a split second.
Yeah, we saw your video feed from you a second ago, and then it went away.
Yeah, so I had to run the video program before I did the internet, and then everything worked.
I'm here.
There he is.
Right, you got it.
Okay.
Is it live or is it Memorex? It's live.
I'm burnt. So here we go, guys. 20 aperture blades. Rolly 150. Okay. You can see the aperture blades working. This is not supposed to happen on a projection lens. Keep that in mind. They have no aperture blades, okay? So let me just get the camera settings the right way. Okay, let me just drop this here. How you guys doing?
Good. How you been?
I've been great. You can
How's
see
life
right
in
here.
How's life
You
in a
can
big
see-
city?
It's horrible.
Horrible.
Okay, kind of hard to see with this right now, but you can see the lens here. So basically, Roy touched on what I was doing. So what I'm doing is I'm taking large projection lenses, large format lenses. You see this here, and they come apart. So what I do is I'm going to take this here, put it in here, and connect it to a camera. It has to be a huge, huge opening. You can only do this with large format or medium format. You cannot take a 35 millimeter with 35 millimeter aperture and do it. You have to go to a much, much bigger format so it does not vignette. Okay, so it's pretty crazy. Okay, but the contrast on this is really remarkable because you never get the contrast out of these lenses because they have no aperture blades. This one has over 20, okay, which is pretty unique. Okay, quite strange too. Okay, this is a cinema. Okay, now here we go. You can see now. You see the camera? Watch what happens when I turn the aperture blades. You can see the light going up. See how it brightens up? See how it darkens? You can see the aperture working. Okay? Pretty neat. Okay? You never see that on a projection lens. 20 aperture blades, so the bulk is flat out sensational. It's perfectly circled. You get perfectly circled bokeh, and you get no vignetting whatsoever because I am using a large format aperture blade. If I was using a 35 millimeter aperture blade, it would all vignette the minute I turn the aperture blade. That's why nobody does it. The secret is to go to large format or 6x7 or 6x8. For large format, you're always guaranteed not to get vignetting. Okay? I mean, I'm not prepared to do this right now. Hopefully I can take some pictures and show it to you guys. Okay, but you know, the contrast on this is insane. It's remarkable. It's unlike anything I've ever seen before. You can see when I turn it right here. You see that? Bright, dark, bright, dark.
It should really have a flat field of focus too.
Yes, it does. I can focus it as well. You see this here? You see it right there. So these are 3 different parts, actually 5 different parts, all come together. Okay, very hard to do. This is something that's very advanced. Okay, this is not for somebody, you know, like I said, it's insane. The contrast on this is remarkable. It's not like anything you've ever seen because you're talking about super low element count. Okay, here's another smaller one right here I have. Okay, this is a Carl Zeiss right here. You can see the aperture blades right there turning. See that? You see? Look at all those aperture blades. Look at that. About 20 right there. Okay? Look at it. Okay? You talk about perfect bokeh, this has it. This is the Carl Zeiss 100. Okay? It's a smaller lens. Okay? But if you can see, I have a whole bunch here. You can see it. I'm going to show you ones that are not done yet. You can see, look at all the aperture blades. See that? Okay? Here's another one right here. Okay? You can see right here. So I take large format lenses with a lot of high aperture blades. Okay? A lot. Okay? Here's another one right here. You see this here? I have about a 20 of these. Okay? Now this here, I can take the Fujifilm 6x680G and I could put it on here. And I can add aperture blades to these lenses, which they can not do because they're electronically. Okay? You can see here how it opens, closes. Okay? Pretty crazy. This is something nobody has ever seen on YouTube. Nobody has ever seen this on YouTube. You got to be nuts to do this.
See, instead of having nightmares when you sleep, you dream about how you're going to create your next.
Exactly. Yeah.
Next
Look, more
lens.
aperture. Yeah, this is Leica 150 1.2 We're going to add aperture blades to this. This is a 180 Rolly right here, okay? 1.3, okay? It's pristine condition. Might take this here. This is a Industar Russian projection lens. It's not a projection, it's a large format lens, I'm sorry, okay? Also large aperture, as you can see. Look at all those aperture blades. This has about 25 aperture blades. Okay, look at that. Okay, then I take out the glass elements. Then I take this out here, and I'll take this call size 120, 1.2 large format projection lens, slide it in there. Okay, adapt it to another medium format camera. I can adapt this to the Fujifilm medium format, the Pentax medium format, or any 35mm camera. I do crazy things. I'm bored out of my mind. Hey, it's got to be a crazy man somewhere, right?
See, and you do this stuff, and you don't even have to drink a bottle of scotch to do it.
No, not at all. That's the best part about it. I'm completely demented. Look at all those aperture blades. Look at that. Look at that. Tons of them. Okay.
You can afford
There
scotch
you
when
go.
you're buying all these lenses.
Oh, I ruin lenses. I buy perfectly fine lenses and I ruin them. I'm an idiot. Okay. Here's another one here that I'm going to do. This is a 140 Kropner call size in mint condition. We're also going to add aperture blades to this as well, but I got to get something that's a little bit tighter. Okay, I have something here right there. There you go. You see that? You're going to add this. This has super micro contrast because these lenses are low element count. They're 3 to 4 elements. Okay. And the thing that people do not know about projection lenses is that the companies back then will put their best optics in the projection lenses, not the 35mm camera lenses. The Elite Glass went in the projection lenses because they had a much bigger field to cover. So when you put aperture blades on this, it gets super sharp. There's no vignetting on the corner. Remember, these lenses go up to like f30, 28, 25. It goes really, really high. Okay, so I wish I could I'm going to take photos one day and I'm going to bring them on so you guys can see them. I'm going to do the Rolly. Nothing has better contrast than this due to the super low element count. Okay, this is about 4 elements in 2 groups, which is insane. As opposed to what we have today, you got 16, 18 elements in glasses. Okay,
27.
so yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And no plastic lenses either.
No, all metal, baby. All metal. This is on the Nikon Z right here. Okay. I could also put it on the Nikon F mount also. Okay. It's really simple. I'll show you. You can go from one mount to the other, no problem. Ah, damn it. I got the adapter stuck in here. Here we go. At least I got a cheap adapter on this camera here. Anyway, I'm not going to bother with that for now, but let me put it back on. Okay. Let me see if I can get it off. It's stuck. That's the problem with this. These are the headaches you got to deal with when you do this. But to have 20 aperture blades on a 4 element count, 3 element count lens, that size or Leica, it's special. Okay?
You're gonna have to capture some images and share them.
Excuse me?
You're gonna have to capture some images for us and share them.
I will, because now it's the fall. So I'm going to start taking pictures, and I apologize for not being actively because I've been taking care of my mother lately. Okay. My sister hasn't been around. She had to go away. So I had to spend a lot of time with my mom. That's why I haven't been around a lot.
No,
okay. But now I'm back, so I'm going to have some time.
Right? They always say life gets in the way. That's life, right?
That's life, so what can you do?
Yeah.
That's right. So, but I want you guys to see this because it's special. It's better than anything else I've ever done, to be honest with you, because no one has ever seen nothing like this. And the beauty of it is the separation of it, because I can get the person entirely in focus. Unlike the 35mm lenses where you only get the nose in focus or the eyes in focus, I can get about 3 to 4 feet in focus and completely blur the background, which is insane. Okay, you have about this much. Normally you have about this much of a field of, about that much to get focus. They're very easy to focus because it's almost impossible. Okay, you're talking about a large format lens with 20 aperture blades, and when you go up to like f22, you don't get that. You don't get the diffraction that you normally get from a 35 millimeter lens. Once you get past like f16 with the lens, you get diffraction, or f12. With this, you do not, which is quite unique. Okay, but I'm working on about 6 to 7, 8 lenses right now. Okay, so like I said, I'm a crazy man. I do crazy things. Okay, all right. I'm gonna get some more in this. This almost has like about 25 aperture blades, which is insane. Look at that.
Now,
I don't know if you can see it or not.
do you end up keeping those for yourself, or do you sell them?
Oh yes, absolutely. I trade them for other stuff that's better. I trade them for real lenses. That's how I build my collection. I do jobs for other people, but you got to give me something in return. I don't want the money.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, forget the money. Give me something rare, because if I buy something rare, I save it and I build equity with it because it's going to go up in value. If you just give me the money, I'm not going to get that. So that's what I do. That's why I have so many lenses. That's why I have so many cameras. About half the stuff I got, I made something for somebody and they gave me something in return. Because if I had to buy it, I couldn't afford it.
Yeah.
That's why I have a lot of medium format cameras. That's why I have so many cameras and so many lenses. It's because I do a lot of work for a lot of people, but give me this, give me that. If you give me this camera, I'll do this for you. Now for my friends, I do it for free. If it's like somebody I know that works. If Roy told me, or you guys told me, I wouldn't do that with you guys. Okay. You give me the stuff, I'll buy it, or you email me the stuff, or just, send it to me. I'll do it for you free. Okay. So it depends. If I don't know you, then I'll do the trade thing. But if you wanted it, I wouldn't charge you for it. No.
That's some crazy.
You can't be greedy, You got to help others too. Okay.
Well, you enjoy doing it. You enjoy doing it. I mean, it's
I love it.
Everyone's different, right? Everyone you do is different.
Oh yes, I modify cameras too. Like I said, I made a 6x7 Nikon glass medium format camera. Okay, let me see if I have it here. Hold on. Well, it's not done right now, but I can add Nikon optics to this. I have like this camera here. This is the Duraflex. Okay, this is a 6x9. With the so, and it has the beauty of this is that I can use barrel lenses with this because I can go up to like 1,000 shutter speed with this. So I don't need to use. I could use old barrel lenses with this camera. Okay, very unique. Okay, so all right. But like I said, I'm gonna start. I'm embarrassed because I have not sent any photos to you guys. I've been lazy, or I've been busy at times, and I have not contributed to the stream. So I feel kind of bad because I show you guys doing all this work and doing all of this, and I don't contribute nothing other than run my mouth.
That's all right. My mouth is known to run quite a bit.
Yeah, but I'm gonna do the rolling for you guys, okay? And I'm gonna definitely send you guys pictures so that you can see the micro contrast, okay? All right, I promise you. I'm not gonna fail you this time.
What do you approximate what's the focal length going to be on that lens when you?
Well, it depends on the format you're using it on. Okay, like for example, if you were to take a 180 6x6 lens, like for example, I take a Fuji. If I take a 6x8 lens, like from the Fuji film, that'll be about 90 millimeters on a full frame camera.
Okay.
Okay. If I take, let's say, a 150, then that's about a 65 millimeter. Okay, so it goes wider.
Yeah.
Okay. If, let's say, for example, I have this here, right? This is the Fujifilm 65 millimeter, okay, lens. on a 6x8. If I put this on a 35 millimeter camera, it becomes a wide angle lens at 31 millimeters, between 30. Now, the beauty of this is when this will take a wide angle shot, but there is no distortion on the face. You're not going to get that wide angle. You're not going to get, it's going to have more compression. So if you had to photograph someone closely, if you use a regular 35 millimeter, or let's say a 28 millimeter, you're going to get that distortion look, nose big, cheeks big. With this, you get none of that. You get compression at 28 millimeters, which is insane. And that's why people want me to do this. I do this for people who do cinematography. Okay, so they can take close-up shots and not have the face, not have the nose being oversized or the forehead being oversized. I could also give you an example of this too, if you guys wanted to see it. So there's a value in doing this. Yeah, and you get bulk at 5.6, which is insane, which you don't get at a 35 millimeter. Okay, like I said, look at this here. You see this here? This will go right here, man. Boom. All I have to do is get like a ring, like a step-up ring. I can go either way. I can put it like this, but I normally do it like this, okay? I have step-up rings for this. I just got to look for it. I put this on. I could put it on the Fujifilm, and this has insane micro contrast when you open it. When you get to like f8, f11, okay, which is insane. So, but this one right here is the killer. It's so small, okay, that you could use it on the 35 millimeter or the Fujifilm, and the micro contrast on this is insane. This is a call size projection lens, very rare. This is very hard to find. Okay, all of these lenses are hard to find, except for the Rolly 150. That's easy to get. Okay, but I'm going to show it to you guys, okay? I promise you. I'm not going to tell you this time.
Sounds good. We're going to hold you to it.
No, you can hold me to it. I promise you. I'm not going to tell you. I feel bad, like I said. I feel horrible. I feel like the latest guy in this community.
Don't feel bad at all, man. I tell you.
Okay, but I haven't contributed. I should contribute more, and I feel terrible. And I'm sorry. And I apologize.
If you're in the chat, you're contributing.
I know, but I could do more. So I feel bad because you guys are pulling all the weight, and I'm not. You guys are sacrificing your time, and I'm just here being a bum, being lazy. So I got to be brutally honest. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Albert, you're a Mets fan, right, Albert?
I'm a Yankee fan.
Oh, good. Yeah, we just made the series.
I'm a Yankee fan. I'm a Yankee fan, and my favorite player is Don Mattingly, still to this day. The Hitman. No one's better than the Hitman. Before he blew out his back, best player in baseball, bar none. I saw that man play third base left-handed flawlessly for 2 to 3 weeks. Are you kidding me? Who could do that? 45 home runs, 50 doubles, batting 340. Come on, without steroids? No. The Hitman is king in my eyes. But that's what I grew up with. So the guy that you grew up when you're young is usually the big guy,
Yeah.
So, okay. But I'm going to do this for you guys, and I'm going to show this to you. What would you rather see? Large format? You want to see it on the Fujifilm cameras? The Fujifilm medium format? You get a little more background blur. Or you guys rather see it on Nikon cameras?
It doesn't matter. Whatever.
I'm going to go with Nikon.
However you want it to be in the end. It doesn't matter.
All right. I'll tell you what, I'll pick Nikon, and for one reason only. It's going to be much easier for you guys to judge it on a Nikon camera because you're so accustomed to seeing the sensor. Okay? So I'm going to do it on the Nikon. What camera do you want me to do it on? The Nikon Z body or the Nikon D700, the Nikon D810? Pick the cameras.
Z.
Z? All right, I'll do both. How's that? Because the Nikon 700, it delivers slightly better contrast. I'm sorry to say. Okay, and better color rendition. So I'll do it on both. Okay, I'm going to take the camera, go out in the field, and I'm going to take pictures with it. I'm going to shoot it at several f-stops. Okay, I'm going to shoot it open, and I'm going to shoot it as wide as it's probably like f36 and there will be no diffraction, which is insane because nobody has ever seen that on a 35mm camera because a 35mm optics cannot handle that. This can. It's large format. It's 6x6. Okay, but the contrast on this is superior to anything that you've ever seen. I'm telling you. Okay, and I'm going to prove to you guys that the best optics for using the projection lenses, not the 35mm lenses. The reason no one knows is because you cannot open it up. You know, you're always stuck at f or 2.8, or you're stuck at 3.5, and you don't get that micro contrast. When you get to f8, then that contrast starts to kick in. Okay, this is something you've never seen before, and I want to make sure that you guys are the first to see it on YouTube.
And then you're going to have Nikon calling you up.
They're going to be mad at me. Listen, if I did this and I had a YouTube channel, I would make those 1.2 lenses look really bad. Real bad. I'm telling you, really bad. You know, you're talking about the 3 to 4 element counts, okay? At f16, just picture that. Just picture that. You have to see this to believe it. Okay, and I'm going to show it to you guys. Okay, give me about 3 weeks or so, or 2 weeks. I'm going to get it done. Okay, I'm going to come on and I'm going to send you guys the file so that you have total control of it. Okay.
All right.
All right. So I'm going to get off because I know you guys, you know, I'm not going to run my mouth too long. Thank you for letting me come on. Okay.
Oh, no problem.
All right. Thank you, guys.
It's good to see you. You're looking good.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I haven't cut my hair. That's why I'm wearing this shit. So
I cut mine just before the show. Just before the show.
Yeah. I don't want you to see the crown. All right, guys. Good night, guys. I'm gonna stay on. I'm gonna stay on. If anybody has any questions to ask me, you know, I'm gonna stay on. So, but I'm not gonna be on the camera because I know you guys got other things to talk about. Okay.
No, we're getting ready to close shop for tonight anyway. So
all right.
we want
Thank you for letting me come on.
We let you end the show. We let you end the show.
I'm an ego. You let me out of the house like every 3 months.
Yeah.
When no one's around.
So you got Sanjit saying that you're a true magician. You're a true magician.
Cuckoo. You have to be a little bit.
Okay,
I don't
so
take no for an answer,
another
man.
question from Sanjit wants to know what would be the ultimate build for you, telescopes or observatories?
I don't know yet. No. Look, like I said, I'm working with large format. I mean, this is a 300mm, man, f4. Okay, all right. And I have another in the stock coming from Russia that's 210. Okay, all right, and it's f4 also, but that's for this lens right here because this one is just a little too wide, as you can see. Okay, I needed something a little bit small. I want to get it tighter. Okay. I don't like too much play in it. Now, the advantage of having a bigger one is you're guaranteed to get no vignetting. Okay? People make the mistake of putting adaptive amateur blades in front of the lens. That does not work. It never does. Okay? That's amateur stuff. And I've seen people on YouTube do it, and they say that adding aperture blades to lenses does not work. Well, I'm going to prove that theory wrong 100%, and I guarantee it. Okay? All right, so I'm pretty sure
that. On that note, everybody, we're gonna say our good night. We're gonna say our good night.
Good night, guys.
And then we can't. We're gonna look forward to seeing some images from you down the road.
Yes, sir. I'm not gonna fail you guys this time. Okay, I promise. I'm gonna come through for you guys. Okay, because I want you to see. I want you guys to see what others have never seen.
On in your life, family comes first, man. Family always comes first.
Yeah, she's had blood pressure problems and she's scared to be by herself. So sometimes I have to go sleep at her house on the weekends. You know, that's why I haven't been. I come on the stream, I hang out for like a half hour, then I gotta leave. So that's how it's been lately. Okay, but my sister's back. She's in my sister's house now. My mother's 83 years old, so so she's getting up there, and it's getting harder for her to be by herself. So but luckily she's with my sister right now. Okay. All right. So I'll see you guys soon. Okay. Thank
All
you for
right.
letting me be on.
Oh,
All right.
no
Good night, guys.
problem.
Bye.
Take it
Good night.
easy.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Good night, everybody out there in the in our YouTube world here, and we look forward to seeing you guys next week. And hopefully, I don't think we're going to have Gustavo. I don't think Gustavo will be on next week because he'll probably be recovering from jet lag and everything else. And I don't think we'll see him next week. But hopefully, David will be back. I hope next week, and everybody else here, hopefully. And so I thank Tim for coming on. I sent him a text message begging him to come on because I was afraid I was going to be by myself, and God, nobody wants me on here by myself. Believe me, you know. so thanks, Tim, for coming on and making sure I had a few had enough bodies on the panel here tonight. Randall, thanks for popping in here with us again. Hey, you know, you're welcome on here whenever. So just, you know, just come on. That's it. Roy, as always, the rock with all the magic behind you and on all the shelves and in the boxes and everything always seems to be within 3 feet away from you. So I don't know how you pull that one off because you don't know what we're going to ask you for, and you just
I'm
find
organized.
You're
I'm
very
very
organized.
organized.
You're very organized. You're very organized. And so to everybody out there, we say good night to you and we thank you for coming on. We really appreciate it. So have a good one.